Hey, longtime listeners, this is Shades here. Just dropping you a quick note to let you know that we are pushing this week's episode, Evolution, back 1 week. It's Thanksgiving here in the States, and I'm just taking a little downtime to spend some time with friends and family, eating a little turkey, eating a little bit of cranberry sauce, and lots of stuffing. So instead, we're going to repost episode 31, Gargoyles, with special guest Zehra Fazal. She is recently the 2019 winner of Outstanding Promo and Outstanding Body of Work for the Sovas Awards. We were so thrilled to have her on the show as our resident gargoyle expert. So take a listen, enjoy, and come back next week for our Evolution episode. We will see you next time.
Oh, hello. I'm Sketch.
And I'm Shades.
And this is
Geeking Out with Shades and Sketch.
Welcome back, long-time listeners.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back.
Thanks
It's been
for
a little
joining
while.
us again. Every time you meet us in a different corner of the geeking multiverse. We bring our GoCo around with us. This week, Shades, where are we set up?
Sketch, this week, GoCo is set up inside of Castle Wyvern, high above the skyline of New York City in the Xanatos building.
An ancient Scottish castle, a
Yes.
medieval Scottish castle.
That is correct.
Perched atop.
Transported brick by brick, stone by stone.
Stone by stone to
1994's New York
Manhattan skyline.
Yeah.
If you thought putting your name on a building was arrogant,
Putting a castle on top of it.
on it, like candles on a birthday cake.
Spared no expense.
No expense. So if we are in Castle Wyvern in 1994 in New York, that must mean we are talking about
Disney's Gargoyles.
the animated series.
Yes. Do we have a theme song?
We
Sketch?
definitely have a theme song this week. Dun, 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 dun. Perfect. All right, so if we're talking gargoyles, that means that wait, Shades.
What?
Put that down.
What?
That's a priceless artifact that probably hasn't been touched since 1996. You're a horrible archaeologist. Leave things alone.
I take offense to that. I'm a wonderful archaeologist.
What are you unfurling?
There's this inscription here. I'm just gonna. Deslegrate muri tempi et internalia.
Oh gosh, this was a bad idea. What is that?
We have
Opened a portal of some sort.
the Phoenix Gate has worked,
Yeah.
and with us is Zehra Fazal.
Hello.
Welcome.
This is insane.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being our guest.
We're not going to talk about the magic that just happened?
Well, it's the Phoenix Gate.
That's amazing. Welcome to New
I have
York.
some time dust on my shoulders.
Oh, sorry
Brush
about that.
off.
Guys, 24 years later.
I know, right?
Craziness. So Zehra, we're so excited to have you on the show.
What a happy accident.
Yes.
Like we pulled over just the right person.
Oh,
Accidentally.
I'm so excited to be here and to talk about Gargoyles. The show was so important to me growing up, so it's a joy to talk about.
Oh, fantastic. But before we get into Gargoyles,
Oh.
you've been circling some of the properties we've done on this show for a while. We talked Defenders, which I believe you are the voice of Matt Murdock's cell phone ring.
Oh.
Is that true?
On Daredevil.
Oh, Daredevil.
Yes,
Okay.
when Foggy calls him,
Yes.
I'm the voice that you hear. Foggy, Foggy, Foggy.
There it is.
There it is.
That's fantastic.
Guys, we did not just pump in audio there. That
Right,
was live and on the spot.
And we also talked Netflix's Lost in Space,
Yes.
of which you are the voice of the computer system.
Yes,
on
that's
all of the
right. I
Jupiters.
voiced the Jupiter and the Resolute spaceship consoles.
Very cool.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's crazy.
yeah, so a happy accident that you're here, but we are excited nonetheless. You can hear Zehra on season 7 of Voltron, your character Rizavi.
Yes.
Fan favorite already.
I know. It's really cool to see the fan response to all the new characters that were introduced on this last season. It's just the amazing amount of fan art that's been created. It's just stunning.
Yeah, it's really great to see them bringing in characters late in the show.
And being so well received.
Yes.
Because we've seen that happen on shows before where it's like, ugh.
Right.
And this season of Voltron was like, okay, when's 8 coming out?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
tomorrow, please?
Season 8? When is season 8 coming out, Zehra? Do you have
They
any
haven't
information on
announced it officially.
Okay.
But I'm feeling we'll get an official date after New York Comic Con.
that? Okay.
Oh, that's soon.
I've heard rumblings online that it's going to be November.
And spoilers, will Rizavi be making a reappearance in season 8?
No spoilers.
Okay.
But if you liked Rizavi in season 7, I think you'll be happy when season 8 comes out.
All right.
Excellent.
I will take that.
Excellent.
Yeah. And we are huge DC fanboys. I don't know if you've listened to any of the show. I will assume that you are a longtime listener.
I don't even think you need to listen to the show to know.
I know. We're such DC fanboys.
We basically have billboards out there.
We do have
It's
billboards.
amazing.
And so we're very excited to hear that season 3 of Young Justice, titled Outsiders, is right around the bend, of which I read an interview, not with you, but in an article in Newsweek in which you are mentioned. I think the quote is that we will all be standing in line to meet you this time next year at Comic-Con.
Oh my gosh. That was...
So you've read that article?
I did read that article because they basically were reporting on what happened at the panel.
Yes.
And full tangent here, I had gone to the panel to support the show, to support my fellow actors and the creators. And I had no idea they were going to announce me at the panel. So when they announced that and Greg said those kind things, it was a total surprise. And it was really cool. It's like, okay, well, I agree. Hello, public. I'm here.
That's awesome. So exciting. And you are voicing Halo. For those not in the know, Halo is an original Outsiders member.
Okay.
Of the
I'm
team.
not in the know. So
she was part of the original team, but it seems that they have drastically changed Halo's backstory and origins and the character.
In that awesome Young Justice way.
Yes.
Where they put their own twist and stamp on everything.
Yes.
It's really cool. I'm excited for people to see it and to see this version of Halo.
Yes, very exciting. Because if I understand correctly, she was kind of DC's equivalent to Marvel's Cloak and Dagger.
From Cloak and Dagger.
I'm sorry, Dagger, not Cloak.
Okay.
You know, they have a very similar motif in the original versions of the Halo character. Different powers, but stylized similarly. And they have just drastically redeveloped the character. I love everything that Young Justice has done with their character choices. So I'm very excited for to receive Halo in season 3. And maybe we can touch base with you after that comes out. And you're able to talk about it a little bit more.
I'm probably most looking forward to season 3 of Young Justice as anything on DC's streaming service. You know what I mean?
Me too.
We've been waiting a long time.
We have.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it's been really cool to join a property that has such a huge fan following, and not just a huge following, but it's truly beloved. And it was fan passion that directly led to it coming back.
Oh yeah, we wrote a lot of letters.
That's amazing.
Personally, the two of us. Yep.
Yes.
That's what we do in between episodes, really.
That's so great.
I write letters and Shades brushes up on Latin.
Yes.
You never know when
you never know when you're going to need it. Okay. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing what you can with Young Justice and Voltron. I know we're eagerly awaiting both, and I'm sure our longtime listeners are as well. Awesome. So Gargoyles.
So right off the bat, spoilers for Gargoyles, guys. If you haven't watched this 24-year-old show,
we're going to spoil quite a bit.
Yeah, get on it.
What have you been waiting for? October 1994. So this is 24 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
So this is the 24th anniversary. We're so timely with it.
Happy anniversary,
Happy
everybody.
anniversary.
Happy
Gargoyles.
anniversary.
Technically
into-
1025. 24. Yeah.
Very quick.
That's true. That's true.
Do we need to do a synopsis of Gargoyles?
General synopsis.
Do you have a synopsis for us?
On the spot. Okay. This is a world in which gargoyles are mythical creatures that exist alongside man. They sleep during the day. They're stone statues during the day, and they come alive at night, protect humans that they have sworn loyalty to. And we're following a clan of gargoyles that have been placed under a spell for 1,000 years, and they've reawoken in modern, 90s Manhattan. And they have to adjust to the modern dangers and threats of that world. Is that enough?
Perfect.
Okay. That was on the spot.
It was.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. I recently watched all 70, how many? Episodes?
72 episodes. Sorry, 78 episodes.
Yeah.
78.
And I watched them
Are
all
you
within, like, 3
including
weeks.
the Goliath Chronicles
Yes.
as part of that?
I
Okay.
am. Yes, I am.
Because those aren't technically canon.
Yes.
We've since learned, and I am desperately trying to hunt down the SLG comics that continue the canon story,
Yes.
but it's pretty difficult.
Have you ever read them?
Do you have those? Are you?
I-
a reader?
I
of
have.
them?
I think I have the first volume bound in a storage box in my sister's house in Brooklyn.
Well,
but they're really good.
I have the second collection bound on the way to me, so together we could read the complete story.
Oh, there's only 2?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Future
so
episode.
Future episode.
Future
we
mini.
Read
The Gargoyles continuation.
continuation.
Did it end? Like, did the comic end it, or did it leave it open-ended?
I think it's open ended
Okay.
because there
Yeah.
were plans for another comic book in 2015 that sadly was canceled, but it was ongoing.
Yeah, Disney took back the imaging rights in 2015, right?
Hmm.
I think.
Something like that. Yeah.
And Jordan Peele recently pitched a live action.
That's right.
I wonder
I
if
would
that
watch
had anything
that.
to do. I would watch the hell out of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
With everything Disney's doing with mocap right now and bringing their animations to life. Zehra, what's your history with gargoyles?
Oh my gosh. So I'm going to date myself here. I was in the Gargoyles target demographic. I was 10 years old when the show came out, just turned 10. And I was a huge Disney Afternoon fan. I love Darkwing Duck especially. And Gargoyles caught my eye because it was so dark in tone,
Yeah,
different from the rest of the Disney Afternoon.
absolutely.
And I remember coming home from school one day and watching it. I think it was, I remember. The first episode I saw was Long Way Till Morning.
Oh yeah.
It was the one where Elisa got shot.
Yeah.
Oh.
Such a good episode.
Hold on.
That's a very good
Let me
episode.
double check the title on that. Because, no, it's not
Shadow
the
of
right title.
Gun? Is it Shadow of the Gun?
No, not The Shape of Water.
That is incorrect.
Was
The
that an
internet
episode of Gargoyles
fails
first?
me.
Was the new movie a reboot of a specific Gargoyles episode?
Well, that would explain so much.
He
The
does
creature
kinda
is a
look like a
gargoyle who's
gargoyle,
lost his
yeah.
wings.
Fun fact, I used to have all of these titles memorized, and I
Wow.
would write them like in my notebook at school to calm down when I was feeling anxious.
Wow.
That
That is a coping technique that we need to bring back.
Seriously.
in school.
Seriously.
notebooks we need to bring back in schools.
Yeah.
Well, the first episode I saw was the one where Lisa gets shot.
Yeah.
In season 1. And
That's a rough one to come in on.
Right?
That's a
But it was
powerful
so
one.
different
When
from
you think of
anything I'd ever
everything that
seen
was there.
before. And from that moment on, I started watching. Shortly thereafter, they replayed the Awakening 5-parter. And then I was hooked.
It was a bold opening to a afternoon children's cartoon to do a 5-part opener. You know,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
non-episodic. Like, tune in every day to check this out.
And just as an aside, Zehra, that episode's called Deadly Force.
Deadly Force, of course.
We were those are both titles in the series, but we both had the title incorrect.
Wah wah.
It's okay. Opening on a 5-part for a syndicated show.
Yeah.
After school with your target demographic, because we were
also 10.
Yeah. I must have been 11.
You were 11.
I was 11.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember running home after school daily to try and watch Gargoyles and catch it. And I would get in the door as the opening credits were finishing. Yeah. I loved that they had in season 2, they extended the credits a little bit to give Goliath his monologue, and I would always turn it on. We live again, and go right into it. So it was great in season 2, and they extended the credits a little bit because I didn't miss the episode.
So you'd get home and you'd shove your mother out of the way.
Oh my goodness!
She would say, "How was school today, little?"
Oh no,
Shades?
mom would pick me up. Mom would pick me up. Like, Mom, we gotta go home right now.
Yeah,
like traffic lights were my enemy because then I'd miss the beginning of the episode.
The Gargoyles have waited 1,000 years. I can't make them wait. Another minute.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I get it.
No, I remember running home every day after school to watch that and try and catch it, because you're absolutely right, Zehra. There was nothing like it on television that was so dark and so cartoons in general in that age didn't have a story arc. They were all episodic and
the continuity.
Yeah, like the way it built. So I just remember instantly gravitating towards the storytelling devices and the way that it was inspired by kind of like Hill Street Blues, of the recap of the previous episode and how everything was a continuation of it. Hill Street Blues, for those not in the know, longtime listeners, like episodic cop drama type thing that gave you the recap before they launched into this week's installment of the episode.
Previously on Hill Street Blues.
Yeah, exactly. That was fantastic.
That was excellent.
It's like I was right.
You didn't do that too, did you?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sketch. What's your history with Gargoyles?
I mean, this is another show that I started as it was out, 10 years old, just like you guys. I don't know about you guys. I never saw season 3 until or not season 3, the Goliath Chronicles, until I made myself recap the whole thing. So I knew it existed, but for whatever reason, that one fell off my radar. But I adored Gargoyles, because I had also grown up with, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Batman the Animated Series, and this one was like right in the middle.
Yes,
it kind of had aspects of both, and then aspects of something completely new as well.
Right, had the ensemble nature of the Ninja Turtles, it had the darkness of Batman, and the narrative, like arc storytelling that Batman, at least the first 3 seasons of Batman, dabbled in. But like the ensemble and humor and personality of Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And you bring up a really good point. I was a big Ninja Turtles fan too.
Yeah.
And I also liked the show Biker Mice from Mars.
Yes!
And there was a similar
one I missed.
Biker Mice from Mars.
There's a similar dynamic where you have the human protector against these non-human, or working with these non-human things that the rest of humanity might not quite understand.
Yes.
But they're there to protect. And so it's that same vibe. April O'Neil, Elisa Maza. I think it was Charlie in Biker Mice from Mars.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It was I couldn't remember if it was Charlie or Harley, but now I remember their female protagonist on Mars was named Harley, and their human protector on Earth was named Charlie.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Deep dive.
Did Street Sharks fit into this motif?
Same era, but not as well developed.
Well, I'm not arguing that
Street
was
Sharks.
Something we're going to geek out over.
Did they have a female liaison?
I don't remember if the Street Sharks had a female liaison.
They were just into extreme sports.
They really were.
Like sharks. That's a common thing with sharks.
It is.
Yeah.
It's I see that in Shark Week all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the Street Sharks or Biker Mice episode, although that would be a fun one.
Apparently it's the Latin episode, though, guys. So all 3 of us have very fond childhood memories of the show. How about going back now as cultured adults, rewatching it? You guys have any changes in opinion?
No, it is as good, if not better, than I remember. In many ways.
Yeah.
I don't think I appreciated the narrative storytelling and the arc of characters. Just to geek out on that for a little bit. Is there going to be a random episode with King Arthur? Yes, there is. Is he going to have a narrative arc where he comes back and we see the rest of his story? Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Is are Margot and James, I think, from like the first 3 episodes, are we going to get their narrative history?
Brendan.
Brendan,
Margot
thank
and
you.
Brendan.
Margot
Give
and
him
Brendan.
your wallet, Brendan.
Yes, also voiced by Marina Sirtis in the first 2 seasons. But it is Margot becomes the district attorney in season 3.
Oh, right.
It's like every
Right.
character they introduce, like that you think is just going to be a one-off disposable character,
Mm-hmm.
comes back and we learn their whole life story. Vinny, the guy who's always getting thwarted by the gargoyles, and then like in season 3 he goes off to Japan and to like get his job and his life back together.
Even the super small character of the New York Central Park jogger, just kept showing up again and again. It was the Avatar Cabbage Man before Avatar's Cabbage Man.
So Zehra, is it as good as you remember? Did you revisit it at all?
I think that it's impossible to look at a beloved childhood property objectively.
Yeah.
But yes, I think so. I think that, like you said, there's no waste. Everything introduced gets wrapped up and new questions are introduced.
Yes.
But like everything is used to full effect. And the thematic storytelling of it, not to mention all the Shakespeare references.
Yes.
The classic, like you mentioned, King Arthur, Greek mythology, and then playing with modern tropes when it comes to Elisa Maza and the whole cop stuff, the Illuminati. Like, it just touches so many deep cultural veins.
It really does.
And mythos, those veins of mythos, that it makes the whole thing feel bigger and expansive. Like, what Greg Weisman is really good at is universe building, making you feel like you're in a specific world and all the corners of that world are colored in and fleshed out. So yeah, I think if you haven't seen it and you're an adult, totally watch it.
Absolutely.
There's so much there for the adult viewer too.
Definitely when I rewatched it, I was hesitant because long-time listeners, to pull the curtain aside for a second, sometimes Shades and I talk off mic.
We are actually friends in real life.
And, yeah, I know. And we've talked about other things to bring back from our childhood, and we've started and gone, oh no, this will not be fun. This is bad.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh God, I hope that's not the same with Gargoyles, because I remember this so fondly, and I was blown away at how good it is, even by modern standards.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of animation
so much
and
better
everything.
Than it had
yes,
to be.
it's beautiful.
Yes, it's so much better than it had to be. Exactly.
Because the contemporary show at this time is Darkwing Duck.
Mm-hmm.
And we were when we were talking about doing this, I have such fond memories of Darkwing Duck and Gargoyles.
Yeah,
and so we went back and right? And we went back and watched a couple episodes when we first started talking about doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I think last year.
Yeah, probably.
Oh wow.
And Darkwing Duck did not stand the test of time. It was
what?
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Spoilers for those of you who love Darkwing Duck.
Oh gosh, we did not spoiler alert.
We did not spoiler alert Darkwing Duck.
Test of time.
My favorite episode of Darkwing Duck, I have such like memories of it being so dark and gritty, is Goslin goes into the future.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes.
And we see Dark Warrior Duck.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Warrior Duck. Yeah. Time and Punishment.
Wow.
Crime and Punishment. Time and Punishment.
Time and Punishment. Wow. Very quick.
This is amazing.
We are talking to a real geek here, Sketch.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember being so dark, and Launchpad's old and he has patches and he's still in the tower. I'm like, oh, so dark. It's like it was their Dark Knight Returns episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back and watched it and I was like, oh no.
Wow.
Oh,
haven't. I didn't
forever.
rewatch anything because of your guttural reaction to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I want to leave it pristine in my memory. You know?
I would
I'm
recommend.
going to respectfully disagree.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, okay.
I totally take your point.
Okay.
I ran a fairly successful Darkwing Duck website like
Wow.
in early 2000s.
Okay.
So I did a rewatch of the show in my early 20s. And I know a little bit of time has passed since then, but I felt as an adult, it didn't necessarily hold up all the time to like adult standards of viewing, but I still appreciated the heart and the storytelling
yeah. Yes.
and the writing of certain episodes. The jokes were so quick.
Yes.
And I just love that relationship between Darkwing and Goslin.
Yes.
And Time and Punishment is an episode where that is really explored. So I don't know. The datedness of it doesn't bother me as much. That's my 2 cents.
Oh, and I would agree with you on both those points. I think as a young child, I really like resonated with his costume and like the darker version of Darkwing. And that aspect didn't, like, Darkwing was never as dark in that episode as I perceived him to be as a child.
Totally.
And that's where it kind of fell down for me. And I didn't rewatch a lot of it. I just remembered that episode very fondly and went back and watched that. But I'll 100% agree with you. The relationship between Darkwing and Goslin was very well constructed.
All right. Well, now you've convinced me. Now I do have to.
Okay.
Go on.
But
this isn't the Darkwing
It
Duck
isn't.
episode.
And that was only one season. And Gargoyles was 78 episodes. I mean, season 2 is the length of 4 season 1s.
4 season 1s, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know that watching everything in the last 3 weeks, yeah. But we're getting dangerously close to rants and raves. Should we get specifically into...
We should. Should we do the all-important internet scores before we go there?
We're not allowed to talk until we hear the all-important internet
All right.
scores.
So, IMDb gives Gargoyles and their universe an 8.1.
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes critic score is an 88. I think that's the highest score we've ever done on Rotten Tomatoes.
At least for one of our series.
For a series.
It's a B+.
Yeah.
It is. That's high for the critics. Fan score, 92%.
Yeah, there you go.
Metacritic, a 9.0. 95% of Google users love Gargoyles.
Users, man, they're so nice.
All right,
They
Google
are.
use.
They know. They got their finger on the pulse.
Shades of Geeking Out with Shades and Sketch gives Gargoyles and its interconnected universe a 96.
Very good. Very high. Very high. Sarah, you want to go first? Well, second, because Shades took first.
Oh, man. This is hard.
It is.
It is.
The nostalgia part of me, like 100 out of 100.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if I'm going to be purely objective, which I, again, think is kind of impossible, I'm going to give it a 95.
That's exactly what I gave it. I gave it a 95 because we're professionals.
We are.
You know?
You got to look at it objectively.
My heart says 100. You know.
Absolutely.
My stone heart.
I mean, this is as near perfect as you can get for an animated syndicated show.
Yeah.
You're Star Wars kid.
Yeah.
I'm Ghostbusters kid.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When I go back and look at the real Ghostbusters, there are some amazing episodes of the real Ghostbusters.
Zehra was Darkwing Duck 20-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah.
So quick.
Thank you.
This guy. But I would not be able to give the real Ghostbusters or Extreme Ghostbusters, which I think is a much better show than real Ghostbusters. Still wouldn't put it that high in terms of Gargoyles was so much better than it had to be. I just can't get past that.
That's the key. It could have been successful in its time slot with much less effort.
Right.
But they went above and beyond in almost every aspect of the show.
Yes. Strong agree. So should we get into rants and raves?
Yeah, some specifics.
Yes. Do you want to start with rants or raves?
No, let's start with raves.
Raves.
Because we're already there, basically.
Zehra, as our guest,
yeah.
Would you like to start us off with your some of your raves for
your high points? What
Gargoyles?
Favorites.
Certainly. First of all, Elisa Maza, man.
Yeah. I got her.
Here we have
me too.
A heroine who is, by the way, of mixed Native American and African American descent.
I have that note.
She's a detective. And she's, again, like we touched on earlier, she's the protector, the liaison between the Gargoyles and humanity. She's their secret keeper. And they also develop this sort of Beauty and the Beast type relationship between her and Goliath.
Very much so.
Which, to me, as a young woman, was captivating. It was such a healthy relationship.
It really was.
Yes.
to see develop and unfold over the course of those episodes. So I love Elisa. I was a huge fan. She informed my wardrobe choices in 1995. It was like all blue jeans, red jackets, and black undershirts.
That is
Perfect.
amazing. Perfect.
That's what Shades is wearing right now.
It pretty much is.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. I was going to say, Elisa Maza, huge role model for me, too. I mean, still influencing my style choices.
Yeah. And
She's
what I
timeless.
liked,
Timeless
what I liked
beauty.
about her and Goliath, too, is that they were so much on equal footing.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
If one was having, an episode or an arc where they were the vulnerable one, the other one was stepping up.
Yes.
Elisa does as much rescuing as she is rescued, and she's never the damsel in distress.
I wouldn't even say
involves-
she's been rescued. Like, she's been assisted.
Or like a wall collapses due to an explosion, and
she's falling
to her death.
Okay, that's
Goliath can glide.
I'll take it.
He said, so, but it's never the damsel in distress she needs rescuing.
Right.
She's out there on the front lines all the time.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember when Hudson turned to stone in midair?
Yes.
And was falling. Oh, sorry. It was Broadway. I think.
Yes.
And then she shot the rugs out.
Yeah. Saved
to
his
fall
life.
and catch him.
Amazing.
Badass.
Yeah.
So amazing. She is, and it's not just that she's, the detective. She's capable. She's so capable. And even when she's vulnerable, she's not weak.
Yes.
Which,
do you remember there's one episode where it ends and she's crying because her brother has been recruited by David Xanatos?
And she can't change his mind. Yeah.
Right.
What
and
a tragic story
on
that
her
is.
face in tears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's not something we were getting from Ninja Turtles at the time. April O'Neil was neither a competent journalist or like in terms of investigative journalism, she was not a competent journalist, and she never rescued the turtles. She was always the damsel, getting herself into trouble. She, I guess she was she was the Daphne of their universe.
Yeah, sure.
She was always like falling for the trap of the cartoonish villain of the week.
Yeah. But Elisa and Goliath kind of personify the whole dichotomy of the relationship between gargoyles and humans, because they needed each other.
Yes.
It was a symbiotic relationship. The gargoyles needed the humans to protect them just as much as gargoyles needed humans, and it was just such like a beautiful relationship that like you said, you watched. It wasn't thrown in your face at the beginning, like, here are these two lovers, they love each other, and we're gonna have fun with that. No, it grew throughout.
I was going to say their friendship grew over the first season and evolved over the second season when they do the Avalon arc. Where they come back with that to then, hey, like we're this isn't going to work when they come back from Avalon. And Elisa isn't really featured very strongly in a lot of those episodes. So then we close season 2 on Hunter's Moon.
Yes.
Those 3 episodes of like, not only are we attracted to each other, not only does it doesn't work physically, it works on a lot of other levels, but like there's real love between those two characters on like an emotional level, a physical level, and maybe like spiritual, an intellectual or a spiritual level.
Romantic.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so, again, for an after-school syndicated television show, didn't have to do it. They could have just given us Beauty and the Beast, which is a horribly abusive relationship when you go back and watch that. This is not the Beauty and the Beast episode, I understand. But yeah, just what a great, Elisa Maza and that whole character as it evolved.
So much depth and complexity.
Yes.
Again, above and beyond. They wrote her better than they needed to for what they were doing.
I didn't think this at the time because I was a kid, but now, as a young woman of color, that show and seeing representation was so important. I mean, she was one of the few heroines of color on screen in animation at that time.
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
mid-90s.
Yes.
And, now there's this push for diversity and representation. And Gargoyles was doing it 24 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. We
is
often
amazing.
talk about, in the properties that we've done on the show, we often talk about like how we're trying, this is like new, putting people of diversity and color in the protagonist position. And then we, every time we go back to a series, like, oh, this character, wait, 24 years ago, like, in the case of Gargoyles, yes, this was happening. And what happened in the last 24 years that it stopped happening?
Yeah.
A couple things come to mind. We try to keep it loose and relaxed on the show, so I won't go into those things. But it's kind of, you're
Everything's on fire.
welcome. Yes, and like if we think about it, if we go back into it, yes, it's new for the 21st century, but it was being done and being done well on in places that it probably didn't need to be. Sketch, you got a rave for us?
I will, as I am Sketch, I will rave about the animation quality
So beautiful
of this show. I mean, again, above and beyond. They, you rarely see instances of them reusing animations.
You said that to me very early, and then the only time I ever noticed them reusing something was in season 3.
Yeah.
I started to see that.
I mean, animation is hard work, and you understand why shows take some shortcuts to reuse some stuff. Everything was freshly animated, even though they're jumping off the building this week, they're jumping off it next week. But we're still
they could very easily use that. The thing that came to mind is they could very easily use the same awakening sequence over and over and over and over. And it's different every time. They're in a different place on the castle parapets or the clock tower.
Or they make a different pose when they
exactly.
They freeze.
Exactly. And there was no reason that they had to do that. And this was a hand animated show. It's very easy to see that this was not one of the computer animated offerings from that age.
This was above and beyond.
It really was.
And including in the animation, I'm putting in the background work. Because especially in season 1, and then it starts to fade a little bit, sure, but you had real life New York locations.
Yes.
Right. And this is a pre-internet era where you don't have to be that faithful. Unless it's like the Statue of Liberty where everyone's going to recognize it. They go to the Met, they go to the cloisters, they go to Cleopatra's Needle. They're all very faithfully put into that show.
When they went back to the cloisters, they did a very good job.
And they didn't need to.
They did not. They could have just done anything and said it was the cloisters. How many people have ever been to the cloisters in New York or remember it with such vivid detail? Again, their target audience, 10-year-olds after school.
Yes, exactly.
24 years later, I'm like, that's the cloisters, like faithfully represented. So
it was like a love letter to New York City.
Yes.
And,
New York.
I was a little girl growing up in Indiana. I didn't get to New York till many, many years later. And I felt like I already knew the city in part to Gargoyles.
That's amazing. That is. New York is as much a character as the Gargoyles or Elisa or Matt.
Especially in season 1. Then we travel a little more. But
a lot of those locations were done really well too.
Yeah, and even when they go back in time and they show some things that have happened, like Stirling Castle, a big arc was in Stirling Castle in Scotland, and I've been there, and
I was
looked
just
like
going to say, I got back from France, and
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame was so well. Like when you get to Notre Dame, I never had the appreciation for how big it actually is, and how much space it has on the island. Saint Michel. And then I went, I saw it, I was like, oh wow, this is exactly how it's portrayed in Gargoyles, right down to the buildings that surround it.
Yeah, I noticed that too, because when you weren't looking at the cathedral and you were looking at characters and you saw their background, I was like, that's exactly the buildings that are there.
That's the rookery, and that's the rectory, and the small chapel behind it. It was so well done. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Wow, you know a lot about Notre Dame.
I just got back from Elise and I went for a cousin's wedding and also our 5th anniversary
my gosh.
was kind of our sandwiched in there as well, our 5th anniversary
that's
trip. So we spent
Awesome.
quite a bit of time.
Happy
walking around.
anniversary.
Thank you so much.
Okay, but this isn't the cousin wedding episode.
It isn't. You're right. I'm sorry.
Just to wrap up my point, just so faithfully done when you just didn't need to be. And that's what bumps this up from like an average everyday cartoon to something really special.
Right.
I think it's your rave.
I think you're correct.
Yeah.
The idea of clan or family,
Sure.
Particularly in our society, in the 21st century, and not just the United States but globally, this idea of family and the idea of family that you're born into versus family that you build. Like there's blood family and there's chosen family. And particularly at times, like you often hear people say, blood's thicker than water, which is actually a misquote of the Latin as it's supposed to be.
Oh, here we go again.
No, I'm not going to do it. But it's this idea that like that your blood family is like somehow more important than or more special somehow than the family that you build over time. Right? This show really challenged that idea, where characters are introduced from their past who are maybe adversarial but do become part of the larger clan of the show, and met characters who were part of the clan are very much not family, even if they're the biological mother or father of another character.
Demona.
Demona.
We're gonna have to talk about
good.
Demona.
We are.
Yeah, we have to.
But none of the gargoyles have names. They're just brother, daughter, mentor, friend.
Goliath had a name.
Well, the humans gave him that name because he was so big.
And then they walked away.
Yes. But
Sorry.
that's
My daddy gave me a name.
Wow, deep cut.
Everclear reference.
Very nice.
Yeah,
I was just listening to that on my Throwback Thursdays playlist.
I saw them this summer.
Did you?
Yeah.
This is not the summer concert episode.
Oh,
sorry.
We record too many episodes.
We do.
Yeah.
Gargoyles just encompasses so much.
It
though,
does.
It really does. But I coming from a small family, just to wrap my point up, I've always the idea of the family that you build. I love that, seeing that played out in such a a better way than it needed to be done. And I think it offers a nice commentary for us in the 21st century. Zehra, I think we're back to you.
Are we still on raves?
We are still on raves.
Okay.
This is going to be a long rave episode.
I think so. I don't have many rants.
I'm going to cite another incredible female character from this show, Demona.
Absolutely.
What an interesting villain.
Yes.
Such a good villain.
Strong
I think
agree.
the City of Stone 4-parter at the start of season 2 is one of my absolute favorite stretches of episodes. You understand her reasoning, what happened to her all those years, and you develop a real sympathy for her, though you may not agree with her methods.
Yes.
The music throughout the series is incredible, but in particular, in that City of Stone stretch, there was just some new music introduced that was phenomenal. And Demona and Macbeth together.
Oh, yes.
What a fascinating interplay of villains.
Yeah. Those episodes with the two of them were as good, if not better, than episodes with specifically gargoyles in it.
Oh, yes.
The clan.
And
Agreed.
I loved that whole dynamic of Demona, Macbeth, and the historical Macbeth. John Rhys-Davies, who voices Macbeth, kind of laid in. He was like, "This is not the story. I know Macbeth. Like, I am a Shakespearean actor." I remember reading this interview a couple of years ago with him. The characters that he's enjoyed playing over the years, and Macbeth was one of them, because he kind of gave them a hard time when they first introduced the character, and then they were like, "Oh, no, well, we're good doing the historical Macbeth, like the actual Macbeth, not the Shakespeare Macbeth."
Cool.
Which then for him, like, ignited this passion of learning about the actual history of Macbeth. So yeah, just the way they wove historical Macbeth into a children's television show and actually taught us real history. Demona and Macbeth, of how similar and their goals, a gargoyle alone in the world, a king surrounded by family and
Mm.
fealty, and then to have that flipped, a king now immortal, alone in the world, and a gargoyle as she builds over the show Demona into
Right.
Destine and builds her, was it Nightstone
Nightstone Unlimited.
Unlimited,
Oh,
her
yeah.
corporation,
Yeah.
and all of her, their stories. She kind of winds up where Macbeth started, and Macbeth kind of winds
my
up where
gosh.
she started
Mm.
by the end
I
of
never
their arcs.
considered
Yeah, I
that.
didn't pick that up.
Okay.
I have
Good
to
on
go
ya.
watch
Thank you.
the
Good
show
on
now
ya.
immediately. Bye, guys.
Well,
No, that's totally-
Thanks for stopping by. That's the end of the episode.
The thing with both of them, which is, and if longtime listeners haven't watched the show, Demona was not frozen with the clan.
No.
So she
Right.
lived for 1,000 years.
Yes.
With this character from 1,000 years ago, Macbeth, which through sorcery they became linked.
Yes.
And
They
gave
can
them
only
immortality.
die by each other's hands.
They can only kill each
Right.
other.
They feel each other's pain.
Yes.
Exactly.
When they're within proximity.
And so they've spent 1,000 years basically destroying each other, but unable to kill each other.
Yes.
And it just is this, pretty deep and kind of powerful display of vendetta and what it can do to you.
Mm,
And regardless of how long your life is, look what it can do to your life.
Yeah. And I love the idea of Macbeth is the honorable fallen king who makes a devil's bargain. It turns him into a devil. And then Demona is like, even before the loss of the clan, she was kind of morally corrupt.
She's a little shady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she at one point we learned she was the apprentice of the Archmage, and even before Goliath was the leader of the clan, she was like, push unnamed at the time Hudson out of the way. It's your time to lead.
Yeah.
She always wanted to lead the clan.
Yeah.
So it's like you see these kind of flaws in both Macbeth and Demona's characters, but it isn't until they meet each other that they're exploited.
Yeah.
Totally. Such good writing. And at the same time with Demona, at the time you think, oh, she's the villain. But now looking at her, what you just described, she wanted to be in charge. It's because she had a fundamentally different view of what it meant to have a relationship with humanity.
Right.
Yes.
And in a way, she wasn't wrong.
No,
yeah. Absolutely.
Goliath was operating like we protect humanity no matter what, even
Right.
if they abuse us.
Oh, yeah. Goliath was incredibly naive.
Right. And she, in a way, was much more of a pragmatist. I'm going to put our species first. Our survival is important.
Right.
And who's to say she was really incorrect in that belief system? They just had two very different ideas of what gargoyles and humans should be in relation to each other.
Right. And their methods.
And their methods.
And I mean,
and
one of
that's
those-
where we can say, oh, she's a villain.
One of the most dangerous things about Demona to Goliath is that he always presents the fact that gargoyles protect as like core to their DNA. Like
Right.
this is just
Rule one.
who we are. We cannot break this. And Demona demonstrates,
Clearly not,
No,
because
yeah.
we have Demona.
and so just as
Right.
existing, she's a danger to Goliath's clan,
His philosophy.
and his leadership.
Yeah.
His ideology.
And yet he still, at least in the beginning, he still loves her. And he still...
They were married.
Yeah.
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 They have a child
They have a
together.
child. Angela.
Oh,
Guys, this show is so well constructed.
Yeah.
Again, syndicated after school children's cartoon.
yeah.
So well constructed. I lost track of whose
I think it's
rave
mine.
it is. I think it is
I
yours.
think it's your. Yeah.
I'll continue on in the vein of villains, because I wrote down all the villains, the main villains, and I'm going to include Xanatos in that because I loved Xanatos as a villain. Do you guys disagree with me?
I love him.
Oh, okay, good.
Xanatos.
Because he was, for starters, Jonathan Frakes, that's his name, right? Who
Yes.
voiced him?
Yep.
Riker. on
Yes.
Star Trek: The Next
Riker on
Generation.
Star Trek: Next Generation.
Yes.
Perfect for this. I mean, he knocked it out of the park. And Xanatos was this character who could really keep you on your toes. Like, you never knew exactly where he was coming from. You never knew if he was actually doing good, because he was capable of doing good.
Yes. Yeah.
And he was a great foil for the Gargoyles, because especially right when they decursed and came back to this life, everything was very black and white to them. You know, there's our people who we protect, and there are invaders, and that's who we defend against. And Xanatos, even though he swings wildly between the two, he does demonstrate this gray area a lot that they really had to come to terms with, you know?
Yeah. And it's because of him. They owe it to him.
They do.
For breaking that curse.
Yeah.
So there's that added complexity.
Because the curse was frozen in stone until the castle rises above the clouds. So, like, meant to be forever. But Xanatos takes the castle apart brick by brick and rebuilds it on the top of his skyscraper, you know, as one does. And also does so with the knowledge of, well, this is going to bring the Gargoyles back. So they 100% owe their lives to Xanatos.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's a debt they have a hard time repaying, because it comes with a lot of strings.
It really does. And one of the things that I always come back to with, like, questioning his motivations or his, like, villainy, it's like his villainy is like a corrupted or warped thought process. His motivation, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like all around immortality. He's obsessed with immortality.
Survival. He wants to live forever.
Yes. For him, like, the Gargoyles are a method to that. They're just a means to an end at first. He comes to see them as something more. Once he has a child, and like immortality isn't me living forever. Right. It's my progeny.
Yeah.
And he has a complete 180 in season 3.
Yeah, he's a completely different character.
Completely. I had a hard time.
Maybe not completely different.
He's pretty different.
He has very different motivations in season 3.
Yeah.
Well, I cringe whenever season 3 is mentioned, because it's not canon.
It's not canon, guys.
Greg Weisman was not in charge. He was only in charge of the first episode, The Journey.
Right.
And the rest of it has been retconned in the comics that Weisman wrote afterwards.
Interesting.
So
get my hands on
take anything that happened in season 3 with a grain of salt.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
That's my PSA.
All right.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. But you're right. No, Xanatos, even by the end of season 2, he's flipped.
Yeah.
We think.
Yeah. He grows as a character as much as the Gargoyles.
The Gargoyles, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
And I mean, he falls in love as well with Fox.
With Fox, yeah.
And
Fox. Talk about another fantastic character.
Right?
Yeah.
You almost expect it to be another means to an end. But by the end of season 2, you realize, no, these two are actually in love. Yeah.
In fact, like, maybe they're the only two people on the planet who can actually survive each other.
Yeah.
Like, Xanatos and Fox would each, like, lead to the death of their partner.
Yeah.
Unless it's the two of them.
Totally. And I believe this is, Xanatos loved her even before he knew of the special origin of
Yes.
That was a shock to him.
Yes. Yeah. Did either of you pick up that Titania and her mother were both Kate Mulgrew?
Not at the time.
Not at the time. Yeah. That was such a twist. I didn't even recognize it when I rewatched it as an adult at first. I didn't put 2 and 2 together. It was a nice surprise the second time around too, because I didn't remember that from being a child.
Because her mother shows up for the first time in Australia, right?
Yes.
In that Avalon episode.
Yes.
And you think it's kind of like for no reason other than we're meeting a lot of parents.
But that's the trap.
But that's
because
Gargoyles.
No one ever
back.
just randomly appears for an episode.
Yep.
Ever.
Right.
Yep.
I'm just trying to remember. There was something you said about Xanatos.
Deliciously dark, as Sketch would say.
He is deliciously dark. And he's got Owen.
And he has that ponytail. Owen.
Owen's
oh my God. Owen.
What a great character. Yeah. There is a line. Early.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. Like, did you have something you wanted to add on Owen?
I just don't know if we should spoiler
Oh
Owen,
yeah,
in case there isn't
you can go
anyone who
for it.
hasn't seen the
If
show
you
and
haven't
wants to
seen
see
the
it,
show,
that's the most
It's a big
delicious
reveal.
spoiler.
It really is. Yeah,
okay, that's plenty of time.
it's plenty of time. If you haven't seen Gargoyles in the last
If you
24
care about
years,
the biggest spoiler possible, pause now, find Gargoyles, watch it, come back.
before we give the spoiler,
Yeah.
there's an episode where we first are introduced to the other.
Yes.
In that episode, Demona says, "You served the human.
Uh-huh.
Now you'll serve me."
Serve me.
Did you pick up on that? Did either of you pick up on
Yes.
that? As like
Not
as a
at the
kid
time.
watching it? No. Okay, not at the time. Me either.
I took it to mean humanity in general.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you catch it as an
I
adult
didn't-
sketch? Okay.
Oh, as an adult,
Okay. When you
only
watched
in
it
looking
through-
back.
Okay.
Only in looking back. Because the
Yeah.
fun thing about rewatching as an adult, I forgot.
Right,
I
I forgot.
legitimately forgot about
Oh
that
yeah, me too.
until it happened again. And I was like, oh
remember-
shit, yes.
So, Zehra, do you want to do the honors of this spoiler?
Okay. So there's a fantastic episode called The Mirror, which
Yes.
you were
It's
just talking
one of my
about.
favorites.
It's a great episode.
One of my all-time fave eps. Where we first meet Puck. Demona summons him. And Puck is a child of Oberon, one of the children of Oberon, which is a whole different race of creatures we learn about that is kind of used in the Gargoyles universe to explain everything that isn't human or gargoyle. It's a child of
All
Oberon.
magic.
Yeah.
Basically.
What was that?
Basically, all magic
All magic.
is tied
Yes.
to one of the children. Like they had Odin's Eye and the Phoenix Gate, and these were all artifacts tied to one of Oberon's children.
Yes. Yes. And toward the end of the second season, it is revealed that Owen, Xanatos' beloved assistant, who has quietly been supporting him throughout the entire series,
Lefty.
is actually, yes. He's Puck. Puck is him.
Blew my mind
The whole time.
the whole time. Unbelievable.
It's crazy.
And it's a different voice actor, Brent Spiner.
Yes.
Brent Spiner,
Data.
Data, yes, voices Puck. I'm not sure who voices Owen, but they have a very similar
Bennett.
Jeff Bennett.
Who
thank
also
you.
voices Brooklyn.
Oh,
I didn't know that. Okay.
Wow,
Yes.
Okay.
Both
Wow.
right-hand mans.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Okay,
that.
I didn't mean it. I'm not making light. Thank you.
Oh, that's
What you're
wow.
referencing is that episode, The Price, I think,
Yes.
where Owen sticks his hand in a cauldron.
Of-
This is sounding so random out of context. But Owen sticks his hand in a cauldron that is supposed to give the user immortality. But really what it does is turns the user to stone.
Yes.
So making them immortal.
Yes.
Haha. And so for the rest of the series, Owen has his hand.
It's just a
Stone.
It's just stone. Yeah.
But when he
And
turns
it
into
blows your
Puck,
mind.
It's not
Because
stone.
he's
stone.
Puck. He could have undone that.
that's what I. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right.
Tricks to the bargain.
Right. So I never understood. So it's almost like a Jekyll and Hyde thing, I guess. Like when Puck is Owen, he is not Puck. He is Owen. And when Owen is Puck, like the two cease to exist. Because couldn't Puck have just reversed his stone hand?
He didn't want Xanatos to know what was
But
going on.
clearly,
And I think part of
Xanatos
him was in
always
love
knew he
with
was Puck,
A
right?
lifetime of service as
Do
a
you
human.
think Xanatos knew all along?
I think Xanatos had to know he was Puck.
No.
No, I
No?
don't agree. I really think one of the things that made Xanatos almost impressed with Puck is that
He tricked
he
him.
pulled it off.
Okay.
Yeah. I honestly, that's the feeling I get. I really thought Xanatos was surprised, just like we were.
Oh, wait a second. I remember, though, wasn't Puck giving a monologue where he was like, I revealed myself to Xanatos at one point. Either choose one wish from me, Puck,
Yes.
or a lifetime of service from Owen.
Yep.
And
And
he
he said
chose-
he chose Owen.
But at that time, he still didn't know it was Puck. Puck gave him the opportunity to basically have Owen stay with him for life or to have Puck in that time. It's still presenting it as if it's two different people.
Okay.
And he chose Owen.
Okay,
And
y'all,
that's
my
when
mind is
Puck
blown.
Was like,
I did not get that till just
yes.
now.
You know, like
Okay.
Puck
okay.
was 100% committed to Xanatos at that
I
moment.
think you're correct, and I did not get that at the time. Yeah, it's just with Owen. I love when they introduced Mr. Vogel, and they actually address later in an episode that if Owen and Vogel are brothers.
Was very clever.
Yeah,
and then Puck/Owen explained away how he made Owen
Right.
by taking a Vogel and taking him to an nth degree.
Yes.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
Vogel had no ambitions or personal life, he would be Owen.
Because that was the first time I saw something in the show where I was like,
Ew.
oh no, is this laziness?
Yeah.
Like we've gotten so far without laziness.
Oh no.
No.
It's another twist. Is Puck gonna have a narrative arc and go on his journey?
Yep.
Yes, he is. Because every character does.
Right. When I first saw Vogel, I was like, exactly, the laziness. Are they just reusing the character designs?
Exactly.
Which would be totally justified.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
so many
I wouldn't
characters.
fault them
And
for
totally fits in the animations of the time as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Lots of shows do that
Yeah.
and still do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
But
So
no.
I would have
But
forgiven
no,
them that.
we should have given Gargoyles the credit. By then we should have known. Shame
Yes.
on us.
Shame on us for not knowing. The Hunter.
Okay.
Holy mother of all effing consequences.
Yeah.
Gilcomgain, right? Is his name?
Yes.
Oh my
Sure.
goodness. An elder Demona before she becomes immortal.
Yeah.
Scavenging for, and I think after her second clan has been destroyed.
Mhm.
Yes?
I think so.
I think so too.
Because it was before she was
Immortal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scrounging for food, just trying to, at the end of her life, just so bitter and hate-filled. This little boy who's like abusive father sends him out into the stable, slashes him across the face for no good reason.
Demona does. The way
Yes.
Shade said that
Sorry.
made it sound like the father.
Oh yeah, no,
Abusive father.
No,
Slashes his kid. Yeah.
go out and
A very
clean
special
the stable.
episode
Yeah.
this week on Gargoyles.
Yeah. For no reason, a child,
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
no reason, just scars him for life. Every time you look in the mirror, which I don't know if they had mirrors, but like, you're going to remember
would have
my
had reflections.
kind. Every
Stream.
time you see your reflection, you will think of my kind and what I could have done to you. Creates a blood feud
Yep.
over the course of 1,000 years, which
A
comes
millennia.
oh my goodness. And like so like just the different people over the generations who wore the mask and like looking
Yeah.
at the evolution to then with Hunter's Moon. Oh my god. Like,
Question that I
Yes.
just thought of. Do you think this is where they got the idea for Assassin's Creed? Because it
Yes.
felt Assassin's Creed.
yes, absolutely, 100%. I think
Huh.
so.
In that the mantle just kept passing
Passing
on
from father
and
to
on.
son.
And they were in Florence at some point.
Yep.
And they were in Paris.
And they were, remember when they go back in time
Yes.
and like they have like Da Vinci's glider?
Yes, I did.
Is that in Florence or was it Venice?
That was in Florence.
In Florence, yeah. I 100% agree with you on that, if that was your premise. Yeah. Oh, the hunt. I loved that whole
There's a
idea
new
of the
sketchy
hunter.
theory right there.
There it is. But there's also a comic book character, the Phantom, that is based around this idea of mantle being passed from father to son. Is this person immortal? I loved that they borrowed on it, but twisted it to make them like a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and the bigger message of hate, unless you take steps to heal it and address it, hate and pain and abuse will be passed on generation to generation forever.
Absolutely.
It just compound on
Yes.
itself over and over.
Absolutely.
Also, the hunters introduced the trio of siblings in
Yes.
Hunter's Moon.
Mhm.
We're all friggin' hot.
Oh, yeah.
Can we talk about that for a
I mean,
second? There
Vendetta,
was
we've known
Jason
this.
and Robin and John.
Vendetta
Jason was hot.
gives you a great bod.
It
I
really
mean,
does.
say what you will, but
When
it
your
does
whole life
wonders.
is just motivated around revenge,
Yes.
and you gotta have
It's your silver lining.
you gotta have the physique.
Shredded
Yeah.
with hate.
Shredded with hate.
Well, there we go.
That's
Put
the
that on-
fourth season of Gargoyles.
So, yeah. Well, there's a meme right there, shredded with hate.
I mean, I think we're all hitting on the fact that this show had great villains.
It really did.
Yeah.
The villainy. That was part of my larger rant, but we talked about Xanatos and Demona and Macbeth.
Yeah.
The hunters. Oh my goodness. And those three siblings as well. And the message of Demona created the hunters with her ideology and her hatred, and Goliath and Elisa with their bond and compassion was able to end the blood feud. Jonathan never gave up. He kind of flew off, right? The middle brother.
Yeah.
He never
was
came
wavering.
back.
Unfortunate.
As like,
Yeah,
I don't think this is the right thing to do. And then he believes
He gave into
that,
hatred.
yeah, because he believes his brother has died.
Right.
And
By his hand.
yeah. And so, but then he quickly turns it into,
Can't be my fault.
it's not my fault. It's And,
Yeah.
and so now he's still out there. That has never ended. That has never come to a conclusion.
And he goes on to essentially form the equivalent of the Klan, the Ku Klux Klan, against Gargoyles.
Wait, is he the leader of the Quarrymen?
Chilling sequence in The Journey, the first episode of the Goliath Chronicles.
Yeah, can you back that up for 1 second? He's the leader
John
of the
Conover.
Quarrymen?
Yes.
No.
Oh,
Yes.
wait, they changed his voice.
I never knew.
Oh my goodness. My
I
mind
never
is
knew that.
blown.
That's meant to be him.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Oh,
God.
they changed his voice, right? In season 3?
Is it a different voice actor? I'm not sure. Let me look at that up.
Yeah,
Holy crap.
boom. Oh my goodness, my mind is blown.
How did I not?
How did
Wow.
I not put that together?
Wow.
John Canmore became John Castaway. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh my
Castaway.
gosh. How did I
Oh
not?
my goodness.
Not Conover, sorry.
This is amazing.
Wow.
This is amazing.
That is such great storytelling.
Yeah. Holy
Right?
moly.
Wow.
So he did get an end.
He did get
He
an
didn't
end.
just go
Oh
off
my
into-
goodness. Wow.
And here's another fun fact.
Did he come back?
So you
Yes,
had
he did.
Jason, Robin, and John of the
Yes.
three hunters. Greg named 2 of them after his siblings, John and
Oh.
Robin.
Wow.
Just a cute little
Yeah.
piece of trivia.
That is
I'm reeling.
Wow.
I'm still reeling from this revelation here. This is amazing. Holy moly.
Yeah. So the
that is
hate still
craziness.
built and transformed into the next thing.
Yeah.
The cycle doesn't stop for him, for John.
I'm just,
Thank goodness you're on.
yeah,
our
thank
resident
goodness the Phoenix
Gargoyle
Escape brought you over here. Because
expert is here.
You know, the Phoenix Gate brings you to the right place at the right time.
it does.
Oh,
no,
It does.
that's
The Avalon
Avalon
boat.
That was
skip.
the Avalon boat.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have one more rave.
Oh,
Sure.
please. Yeah.
And this is a little bit more meta. But for me, what Gargoyles was so successful in doing was creating this huge group of committed, loving fans to make this huge, amazing community, both online and off. For several years, I think it started in 1999, there would be a yearly convention called the Gathering of the Gargoyles. And this relationship between fan and the creators created this beautiful community. And I've made so many good friends from that community. So my final rave for the show has to be about the people it touched.
That's amazing.
That's really cool.
That's right up there with Firefly, where they used to do the brown coat balls.
Huh.
Do they still do the gathering of gargoyles?
Sadly, no.
Oh.
I think the last one was in 2009.
Oh,
I
wow.
might be wrong. But for several years, they were able to keep it going, which is amazing. And it, of course, expanded. So it wasn't just about gargoyles, but it became more of a animation, pop culture.
That's a long
gathering.
time to keep running, considering the show went off the air in 1996.
Right?
Like another decade of yearly gatherings. That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I didn't know those existed. I didn't know that community existed.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's amazing. And so many friendships had been formed as a result of that. It's awesome.
That's really
Fun
cool.
fact, on the Gargoyles season 2 DVD, might be season 1, there's a little featurette on the gathering. You can also see it online. I think it's on YouTube. But fun fact, you'll see 19-year-old me talking about the show.
That's wonderful. We'll put a link to that.
Yeah,
in the
we'll
show
find
notes.
that.
We'll find that and put that out there for you.
You're probably easy to identify. You have a Darkwing Duck shirt on.
Yeah.
Touche.
But I have one last rave. I know we're just raving like crazy.
Well, there's a lot to rave about.
This is just a generic throughout all the episodes rave. Is that the voice work is like superb.
Oh my God.
Throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we've said names a lot during this episode. And so many of them came from the Star Trek realm. As well.
Yeah.
Yep.
It shines as a show where it looks like the voice cast really enjoyed what they were doing. You know, they were in this.
Yep.
They were invested in this.
Totally.
We have like this massive list of voice actors
14
who crossed over from Star Trek.
14 Star Trek actors and actresses voiced in the show.
But Matt Bluestone was Thomas Wilson,
mm-hmm.
who I know you don't know actors.
I don't know actors. No.
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. Biff.
Oh.
Matt Bluestone was Biff.
I hear it now.
Yeah.
You say that.
And then Broadway,
mm-hmm.
Bill Fagerbach.
Mm-hmm.
Fagerbach. Thank you.
Okay.
Bill Fagerbach is Patrick on SpongeBob.
Oh, I hear that now too.
Yeah. This was his first VO gig.
The smallest side, a tiny little rave. That's a big rave for me. I just love how they got their names. Like they just named themselves after New York.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was tiny, but it was perfect. I loved it.
Beautiful.
We really should move to rants.
We should move to rants, and I don't have many rants at all.
I don't either. But my 5% has to come from something.
It does.
I have one.
Big rant.
All right.
Please start us
Shall
off.
All right. For me, Avalon went on a little too long.
Okay.
That whole story arc. I missed the interplay of Goliath, Elisa, Bronx with the rest of the clan,
mm-hmm.
Hudson, Brooklyn, Broadway, Lexington. And I feel like I wish there had been more episodes of all of them together.
Mm-hmm.
If knowing that season 2 was the last, I feel a little sad that so much of it was the Avalon story arc.
I definitely agree with you. When I rewatched it, I was surprised at how long Avalon was going on. Like I didn't remember it going on that long. I remember the show losing me a bit during that when I was a kid. And again, because I was like missing the other characters that I loved, even though the characters I was with were like my favorites. But I was missing the Xanatos, and I was missing the rest of the clan. And it felt dangerously episodic, too, where it's like, okay, here's an episode, and everything only takes place in this episode.
Strong agree. I'll piggyback onto this as one of my rants. Leaving the clan in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that was a big misstep and really took me out of the show because it was an ensemble.
Yeah.
We got to know the whole clan, and then we just left them. And I read somewhere they were planning on doing a spin-off show that would have followed Brooklyn
mm-hmm.
with the Phoenix Gate through time.
Mm.
And I wonder if they were trying to set that up, that we wouldn't see Elisa and Goliath, and it would focus more on the Rookery brothers traveling time and having their own adventures.
Well, in a perfect world where Gargoyles continued,
right?
What I would have liked instead of the Avalon arc was fighting for more of a place in this world and acceptance from the humans, blah, 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 blah. And then getting the opportunity to like send the brothers off, trying to find new gargoyles, investigating myths that might be gargoyles left over. Because Avalon brought together a lot of world cultures, which was fun. Like when I rewatched these episodes, I was like, oh, okay, we're getting a little Japan, getting like a little Native American.
Gargoyles meets Monster Squad.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. There was a better way to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So I agree.
I appreciate, like, so much we've touched on all the cool cultural things.
Yeah.
From traveling the world and we would meet characters throughout.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like you said, that ensemble of the original clan, I missed them so much. And I missed New York.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess.
And part of it is the reason why I think we're so devoted to Goliath and Alyssa, because they really got pumped up. Their characters really got pumped up during that time. And Angela, too, because we had Angela with us. But yeah, everyone else started lacking. Like, okay, we're just going to end Brooklyn's growth and
Right.
Lexington's growth and Broadway's.
I think we went back to them maybe once or twice through that whole Avalon
Yeah, a little bit
arc.
here and there.
It
Not
was
enough.
Not enough at all. There was like a random episode where Brooklyn takes Demona down into. No, never mind. That's after Avalon.
There's an episode where the King Arthur episode. He shows
Yes.
up in
That was a King Arthur episode.
Manhattan.
It wasn't
But I mean,
really
we
fun
got
episode.
our clan.
But then
Talon and the Mutates.
Yeah.
Talon, thank you.
Episode.
And the
Talon.
Mutates. That was the episode.
And we got what? There was the episode. Oh no, it was the King Arthur one
was
where
the King
Griff
Arthur. Yes, also
joins
shows up.
as well.
Oh, Griff.
Can I just say though, guys,
Sure.
one of my favorite episodes was I think Future Tense.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I was going to bring that one up, but I forgot. So I'm glad you did.
Yeah. Oh,
Where
spoilers.
we see a different timeline.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Well, it's the timeline if Goliath and Elisa never came back.
Yes.
Of
Right.
what would have
Yes.
happened.
And it is dark. Like I rewatched it a week ago and I was still like,
Right.
ooh.
It changed the way, I mean, big spoilers here. It changed the way I perceived Lexington for the rest of the show.
Yes. Yes.
I was
Totally.
like, oh man,
It did.
There's some darkness there.
And
And Brooklyn and Demona.
Oh yeah. Oof. Wow.
poor Broadway
Broadway.
goes blind.
Oh, guys, I can't talk about this anymore.
Xanatos kills his son. I mean, it was
No, Xanatos
dark
didn't.
stuff.
Lexington killed.
Well, yes, but I mean, I thought
It was
Xanatos.
Lex the whole
Yes,
time.
yes, Lex. Yes.
Hudson
yes.
killed Xanatos.
But in the moment, oh yeah, and Hudson was dead.
they killed
Everyone.
each other.
Oh, by the way,
everyone dies. Downer.
Literally everyone but Goliath.
Well,
But it's not
fortunately,
real.
But it's all a dream.
fortunately,
It's
it's,
not-
just
it's all Puck did it.
messing with him for the Phoenix Gate.
Yeah.
So good.
But that episode. But
And that's something
yeah, go
the
ahead.
show did really well was like exploring these what ifs.
Yes.
And you always felt like this danger from within was there.
Yes.
Always.
Yes. Absolutely. The gargoyles themselves were not creatures immune to corruption and evil.
Right.
And not just Demona. I mean, we saw in future tense
Mhm.
that Lexington could go that way. I mean, Brooklyn made a stupid mistake that almost got Goliath killed by Demona. Broadway effing shot Maza.
Broadway.
And it was an accident.
Shot Elisa and blew up Matt's apartment.
Yeah, I mean, it was an
Oh,
accident,
yeah.
but, poor judgment.
Poor judgment. Yes.
The only one immune from this is Bronx.
Bronx is just a love bug.
Bronx
He
just wants to cuddle, watch a little TV.
Sit at Hudson's feet while
Yep.
he watches TV.
Yep.
Can we talk about how they got Ed Asner on
Yeah.
the show as
Sure.
Hudson? Amazing.
we can rave for a little while.
Yeah, we
on
can
Ed
always
Asner.
go back to raves.
Yeah, like wow, what a great character for Ed Asner. Because I mean, the other thing that I think he's really known for in animation is Cosgrove on Freakazoid,
Mhm.
and he plays. I can't remember the character's name. He's one of Darkseid's minions. Oh, Granny. He voiced Granny on
Oh, yeah.
Superman
Yeah.
animated series in Justice League for Granny. But just like what a great character for Ed Asner. Such
Yeah.
depth and gravitas.
Yeah.
And he doesn't feature heavily, but man, when
He's
you,
the patriarch.
yeah,
You know.
he's
The positive
His
nurturing.
presence is always there.
sense of
yes,
that word. Yeah.
and like what a great performance from him.
Yeah.
I think I said it to you before we were recording that I grew up as Brooklyn was my favorite. And when I rewatched it, I went, oh, Hudson. Hudson's my guy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
What would you like to share with the long time?
Yeah.
listeners
He spends
why?
his days watching TV
with
with his dog. Yeah. Love that. No, but even just like, he's lived this life. Like, this isn't his story anymore. Like, now this is Goliath's story, and this
Right.
is his undertaking, but he's still there. He's still fulfilling the mentor role, and he's still a badass warrior when it comes down to it.
right. Yeah, strong agree.
Yeah.
But this is rants. What are we doing?
Whose rant are we up to? Why
Mine.
why don't you take a rant?
I mean, this is little. I only gave it 5% rant. The production quality from time to time varies, and that's not a big sin because when it does vary, it goes down to like what you would expect. from a cartoon, but when all the other episodes are like so exceptional, and you're watching them straight in a 3-week period, it really becomes like, oh, we didn't put that much effort into this, this episode.
I can speak to some of that.
Sure.
So at that time, a lot of these studios are now closed, I think. But Disney Animation had studios in different countries that were sending back the animation. So if you look at the credits, the episodes that have the best production quality are usually from Disney Japan.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so other studios, I think they had studios in Korea, Australia, somewhere in Europe, France, I think. Depending
it's all the places
on
they visited.
Yes. And so and here's the Atlantis animation studio. So depending on what studio worked on the episode, you would get varying trueness of the character designs.
Right.
Yeah.
That's...
Oh, it totally makes sense. And again, I rewatched them so crammed, packed, that's why it became noticeable. And it's such a small little rant. But one thing I will always clearly remember, it blew me away. I almost fell out of my chair when I watched it. It's a nothing scene where Goliath is walking down a corridor, and the scene, like the camera angle is on the lens of a security camera, and it's watching the reflection of Goliath coming down the corridor. And as he's talking, he taps the lens with his wing. So the only real Goliath you see is just the little tip of his wing come into frame, and everything else is done in reflection. And I'm like, who does this?
There's no reason for that.
This isn't a fight scene.
Right.
He's just explaining something, and
that's someone who really loved their job.
Yes, that level of animation blew my mind. And so that's just like when you have high moments like that, then the other episodes that are a little more typical become a little more noticeable.
Yeah, and that's fair.
Yeah.
I think we're back to you, Zehra.
I wish there were more.
Yeah, wish there was more of the series.
Yeah.
I wish there was more of the series. I wish we got a proper season 3.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, like Disney, what are you waiting for? Like, and what were you thinking canceling it?
Yeah.
Does anyone know? Do we know why?
There's a lot of politics in animation and television. And essentially at that time, the goal was to get any series to, I think, 52 episodes at least.
Gotcha.
Because that was the number you needed for syndication. And so once you reach that point, who cares? Let's move on to the next property.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't really necessarily honoring storytellers, and especially if you were telling a story with continuity.
Right.
The networks kind of wanted stuff you could air all in different orders.
Yeah.
Not something that you were committed to airing in order. So Gargoyles, being a pioneer for its time, also suffered because it was something that wasn't quite ready. It was in a market that wasn't ready for it yet.
Right. It didn't play nicely with what else was happening
didn't fit the mold
on television. Yeah.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. But I don't know what they're waiting for now. Something. With Disney's streaming service coming, with Netflix, with Hulu, with Disney Channel, Toon Disney. What are they waiting for? I just feel like there's such a hunger for this show still in this universe. With the comics, it makes no sense to me that Disney hasn't gone back to it.
I feel like with the wave of old stuff coming back, the DuckTales reboot is doing so well.
Yeah, it is.
It wouldn't surprise me if there were something with Gargoyles. However, here's the thing. Stuff I loved as a kid, I'm not in a hurry to watch it as an adult because I don't want... For me, that experience is over. I have it. I don't need more of it in a new way as a fan. It's about the next generation now and what they need.
Right.
It's true.
So, I don't know.
I can appreciate that.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would agree certainly with like my fandom with Ghostbusters and certainly with some of the Star Wars things. I understand that like by continuing to tell the story, like the video game for Ghostbusters comes to mind. Do we somehow tarnish the shine of the original and like some of the Star Wars movies that have come out? You know,
are we still talking about Last Jedi?
Yes, we are. Still.
It's been like a year.
That's a great point, Zehra. Is it my rant?
I only have one other.
Well, I have two.
Okay.
They're kind of petty.
We all expect that from you.
I know
Petty
at this
rants.
point. Where does all the discarded skin go? It started as a big question, but then I really started like thinking about it because it was fine when they didn't address it. It was just a big question for me. Like, where does all the discarded skin go? But then they have an episode where it's a plot device where Hudson escapes by using his skin. So they establish that it does just fall to the ground. So
That's
now
how
I'm saying
in that Puck episode. Well, in the Owen episode,
Owen
he turns
episode.
his hand into
well,
stone.
wait a minute. If we're establishing that it does just fall to the ground, where is all the skin going? There would just be mountains of stone skin all over the place.
Yeah.
Like the clock tower would be full of it every day at sunset in New York. Like stone would just rain down on the
Lisa's like
people.
pushing a broom.
Yeah.
Well,
How does
she's
how does
hiding
the
it.
city?
There's a comically large pile in an alley.
Seriously, like, how does the city not send a municipal employee to the top of the police? Like, guys, every day it's like just stone rains. We have thousands of lawsuits. Somebody go
Roof
figure
is
out what's
caving in.
happening.
This was a different New York.
Like how? And it would
It was
not
pre
have been-
9/11.
Yep.
Times
It
were
is
different.
yes, and that's my second, which is also kind of petty. I'll just get it out now. It's a pre 9/11 world, granted, but all of the airships and robots flying at low altitudes of New York.
Yeah.
I understand it's a pre 9/11 world, but it's like my brain can't compute like how is New York not a demilitarized zone at this point with the number of airships that have crashed in the middle of the streets, planes, robots, motorcycles, and helicopters exploding. It's like. Oof.
There were certainly a lot in the show where you saw the marketing on the walls where you're like, oh, that's a toy. That's a toy. Especially in the first season, they kept having gargoyle themed machines.
The gargoyle
they had
copter.
The copter. They had the motorcycle. The
Steel Clan.
Yeah,
Steel Clan.
I mean, you had to. The Steel Clan was so cool. You had to sell the show.
Right.
Merchandising.
That was specifically a Disney request. I did a little bit of research where Disney wanted like the show to evolve where all of the gargoyles would ride motorcycles. How awful would that have been?
God.
Yeah.
I have not heard that.
That was a real request from Disney.
That would have
Biker mice from Mars.
Exactly.
Oh
I wonder if that's where the idea came from. But that was Fox. That was Foxbox.
All right. Well, I have one last one.
All right.
I know none of us want to. Let's just talk about season 3 for just a second.
Okay.
Just for a second.
It's
not good.
It's not good. And to me, it reminds me of at the same time Fox was doing an X-Men cartoon, which I thought was much better than it actually was. I went back and rewatched them. But it feels like as the show went on, they had the Anti-Mutant League on Gargoyles and the Anti-Mutant League on X-Men. And they had kind of like a Quarrymen-esque group, which I actually liked the Quarrymen. But then the way it evolves with the outcry of like anti-gargoyle public opinion and like the DEA weighing in on it, and it really felt like the show stopped leading and started borrowing from other things that were happening at the time.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's because the original showrunner was no longer working on the show.
Which makes no sense to me again.
Right. I mean, I will say that in season 3, they at least tried to wrap up some things and give some endings to characters. Like, what's his Thalog?
Yes,
got an ending, and the clone clan, the clone clan,
great character, Thalog.
And who else got an ending? I mean, the Gargoyles themselves got a nice little send.
They did
at the end.
Margot.
Yep.
Becomes the DA.
Was she the DA or the judge?
The DA.
Yeah, the DA.
No longer voiced by Marina Sirtis.
You know who
Yeah.
did it?
That
was-
to me is the biggest travesty of all.
Was Demona
Season
not
3.
in season 3? No, she
What was
is.
that?
She's in the first. Demona's in. Season
Demona's
3,
Demona's in season
which
3.
I don't understand why they changed characters. Why they changed actors for Margot.
She wasn't a lot.
Yeah. You guys, I've seen season 3 so little that I've forgotten. I couldn't begin to tell you.
That's okay. I watched it a
What
week ago,
happens?
and I can't tell you.
I
exactly what
watched
happened.
2 episodes of it. I just remember it being more episodic. Like the
It's
arc
very
of
episodic.
the arc of the show was
Yep.
gone by that point.
The
Which fits with
ties
what
to,
you were
like-
saying, Zehra, about they wanted something that you could air out of order.
Yeah.
Mm.
That makes a lot of sense of why
The
it went
ties to
episodic.
like the mythos was gone.
Yeah.
It really was.
The animation sucked.
The animation was not good.
Oh, that opening.
The
when they-
opening was horrible.
Oh, bad 3D computer animation.
And again, I had not seen it ever until I watched it
Oh wow.
for this, and I was so disappointed.
They moved it when they originally aired it. They moved it to Saturday mornings on ABC, and I
Right.
remember being on baseball or tennis or I don't know, some sport I was doing at the time.
All right,
It
we
was
get
like I
it. You're
kept-
athletic.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I kept missing it. I was like, I gotta finish Gargoyles. It's the last season.
Lady's
saw, like-
athletic, and he knows Latin. So
Ding, 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 ding.
Why? Clearly, that's why my wife married me.
Yeah.
Um.
she's told me that multiple times.
It's point of it's really the only 2 things she loves about me.
Yep.
But I remember like missing one of those things to watch Goliath Chronicles, and then my reaction was like, "Oh, I'm good. I don't need to watch any more Gargoyles."
And they really
Mm.
changed the characters of the Gargoyles as well. Like everyone was angrier. like all the
Yeah.
Gargoyles were just
Right.
like so quick to anger, which was so cool
Mhm.
about them in 1 and 2 was that they looked
Menacing,
monsterish
yeah.
and menacing, but they really weren't. They
Gentle
were
giants.
They were gentle, yeah. So
Yeah.
But like you said, it's not canon. We don't have to accept it. So
Right.
It's not canon.
Yep.
You can watch The Journey, the first episode.
Yeah.
And or then read the Slave Labor Graphics comic series. And I don't know if we're talking supplemental materials yet,
Sure.
but I'll mention it. Station 8 is a website where Greg Wiseman has been answering questions
Oh.
about Gargoyles and talking about his vision of the expanded universe for years.
wow.
Very cool.
So it's a great archive. You can go and read more about what he had planned.
Oh, neat.
Nice share.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
have to do that.
I will definitely do that. Just as an aside with Thalog and the SLG comics, you, I believe, are the inspiration for Thalog's Apprentice?
Yeah, for Sherry.
Yes.
Yeah, this was a total surprise to me. I picked up the comics as they were coming out. And I met Greg Wiseman, at a Gargoyles convention, The Gathering, when I was 16. And
so
This is
I've
where we
never
went
been to
wrong
the
in life. We
Gathering.
didn't
Yeah.
go to the Gathering of
Honest to
Gargoyles.
goodness.
oh yeah, it was so cool. And I'll give you a little backstory on that. So at The Gathering every year, Greg would produce a radio play, which was usually a script from a show he had worked on, usually Gargoyles, and hold auditions and cast members of the convention, fans, in parts, alongside voice actor guests who played their parts. And then we would put it on for the convention. And so when I was 16, I went to my first gathering and I was cast as Elisa Maza. And I think
Big
the
role.
script we
Big.
did
Big
Wow.
role.
Yeah.
Wow.
totally. I was geeking out.
Yeah.
She was my idol. And I forget that year.
You already had the
Whether it
wardrobe
was-
too.
I know, right? Totally. I forget. It was either Hunter's Moon Part 3 that we read aloud or The Mirror.
Oh,
It
both
was one of those two.
Great episodes.
Yeah. And we did it. And at the end of the convention, I was just about to go to college. My dad had taken me to the gathering as a graduation present
Very cool.
for high school. And Greg said, you're really good. I think you could do this for a living, be a voice actor.
Wow.
So go to college and then afterward, consider coming out to LA. And so little me kind of filed that information away. Yeah, and several years later, I'm working on a show with Greg Wiseman, which is just, blows my mind.
Wow.
But
That
it's
is
also
so
just
cool.
such a cool full circle from fan to professional.
Absolutely.
So would that be your first VO gig? Would be voicing Elisa Massa in a Gatherings radio play?
My first non-professional gig.
Sure, but
maybe.
Would that be the first
Yeah.
time that you did VO?
I guess so. Well, no. I was in industrial.
Oh, okay.
I was in an industrial film for my high school, for my school district.
Right.
That was like a catalog of classes for people coming into high school.
I think I
Okay.
saw that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We've got that right here.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
link to it.
That's a future episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
But over the years, from when I was 16 on, I kept in touch with Greg. He was such a great mentor and, so open to his fans. And so over the years, we had this awesome friendship. And so I was buying these Gargoyle comics in 2007, I think it was. And since I'd gone to a few gatherings in between. And so Greg emails me and he's like, hey, there's someone familiar in this issue. And I looked at the drawings of Sherry and I was like, wait a second, that's me. What?
Wow.
Very cool.
What
So
an
it's just-
honor, too.
I know.
That's
I
so
still
cool.
don't even know how to process that.
So you are officially a part of the universe that set you on your path. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How many people can say that, honestly?
I
Yeah, it makes me
like
David Tennant.
tear
Maybe-
up
yeah.
thinking about it.
That's it.
David Tennant and
It's a great
Zehra
club to be a part
Fazal.
of. Yeah.
it's a club of two.
It's amazing.
Do you guys have regular meetings, you and David Tennant?
Oh yeah, he's great.
It's such a exclusive club. Do we have any more? Clearly, we don't have any more rants because
No,
we're
'cause
raving again.
Almost all of our rants ended up being
Oh.
raves.
Raves.
I have one rant.
You have
Oh,
one
sure.
rant? Okay. Phew.
I don't like jalapeno.
I forgot about jalapeno. Jalapeno.
Oh man, that annoyed me that annoyed me so much.
It was their cowabunga.
Oh,
It was
clearly they were looking for a catch.
Yep.
And woo, did
Did
they miss
not.
the mark?
Did not work.
Thank you for bringing that up.
I wish
We almost got through the episode.
I wish it had just been like an old Scottish phrase, that they just used
Yeah.
like all the time. And I don't know any Scottish phrases, so I can't do
And
it.
and was that like their way of addressing cursing without being able to curse? Or was it
Maybe.
just
Maybe.
I really feel like it was just like it was a trope. Like,
it was not good.
I-
It was not a good
I
decision.
feel like it became an inside joke, and then probably the writers maybe were like, "Oh, I can sneak it in here."
Oh yeah, it was always so subtle. So subtle.
Jalapeno! Like, oh. Wow. Yeah, that's a
And he
big
said
that's
it
a big
after
rant.
eating a jalapeno
Yes.
Yeah.
pepper.
Yes.
Like you do.
Yeah.
It's-
Keith David made it work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, Keith David makes anything work in his sultry baritone.
And he's such a nice man.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
That's so I'm
I
so
always hope-
glad.
I
Yeah.
always hope that. Because we're talking about Goliath, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you don't know actors.
I don't know actors.
Actually, a couple years ago, my boyfriend was on a flight with Keith David. And several years ago at one of these gatherings, I got to read with Keith David in
Come
the
on.
radio play, which was amazing. And he was so nice and amazing.
Goldberg.
So, but flash forward a couple years ago,
That's amazing.
my boyfriend's on a plane with Keith David. As they're deplaning, Barry runs up to Keith and is like, with his phone out. And he's like, Keith, my girlfriend wants you to see this photo. And it's a photo of me and Keith reading.
That's
And he looks at it and he's happy and laughs.
right.
But it was just that could have gone very differently.
It could have
Oh,
gone
yeah.
very differently.
Oh, that's very cool though.
That is.
And now, of course, Keith had to fly because gargoyles can't fly.
They can only glide. Yes.
Yeah. So if you're going across country,
That's
You want to
Yeah.
have alternate train. You can only glide.
just like
so far.
Broadway did
Yeah.
when Broadway
Oh,
goes
yeah,
to
yeah.
Hollywood.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Goliath Chronicles. wasn't it?
That was the
Yes, it
Chronicles.
was. Yes, it was. So not good. I don't want to use the word bad because I love the show so much, but
Not as good as
it would fit.
1 and 2.
You could use that. Yeah. Oof.
Want to move to big questions? Do we have any big questions?
Sure. I have a big question that I'm proud of.
Oh.
I don't know if this maybe it's been uttered in the universe, but I had this as an original thought, but I don't know if it's original.
I'm sure the Gathering has discussed it.
They probably have.
Yeah.
Can I ask it? I'm very proud of it,
Sure.
and I would love for us to discuss.
We have the correct person here.
I'm aware
to answer.
So, the way gargoyle children are reared is like the gargoyles mate.
Yep.
There's an egg. They all go into the rookery or wherever they keep the eggs. If you're not at Castle Wyvern, as we are, and then they're hatched, and the whole clan raises them.
Correct.
But they retain some likeness of showing their progeny.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You mean genetically?
Yes, like Angela kind of looks like Goliath and Demona.
Yeah, she's a good cross section of the two of them. Yep.
So,
Okay.
Hudson is the previous leader of the clan.
Uh-huh.
Looking at body types of the gargoyles, the core 6, and the 3 rookery brothers, is Hudson Broadway's father?
Yes.
I would say
yes,
absolutely.
Strong yes?
Yeah.
Is that...
it's, I think, been confirmed.
Really?
Oh, really? Yeah. Look at you.
All right. How did they never address
Push
that
up my
in the
glasses.
show?
Well, maybe eventually, that was something...
Is that... Zehra, is that ever addressed?
It's not addressed in the show. But I remember reading, I think this might have been either at a gathering or on Station 8, the website I mentioned with Ask Greg, that Hudson is Broadway's biological father. But Broadway would not, or at least has not until this point, acknowledged or recognized him as anything special, particularly father, because he views all of that generation as the mothers and fathers.
Right.
Because they're of that rearing.
Right. That's the way he was raised.
Same thing with Hudson. Like, he wouldn't see Broadway as
I think it is really cool, though, that those two characters bond over the issue of reading.
Yes.
So that's kind of a cool tie-in.
Yeah. It is.
To tie them together.
Very cool. All right.
There you go. We don't normally get answers.
We don't normally get answers.
Well, now the real question, who's Broadway's biological mom? That's somebody I want to meet.
Don't see many lady gargoyles.
Oh, I was going to say the only other lady gargoyle that we've seen of the clan is
Coldstone's
Cold Fire. Cold
Fire.
Cold Fire.
There's Cold Steel, Cold Fire, and Cold Stone.
Right.
She's Cold Fire. I forgot.
Another great trio of characters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Michael Dorn, Cold Stone.
Yeah. Another Star Trek.
Yes. What a great
But,
character.
I mean, we know there are more.
There have to be, right?
I mean,
those are the only two that we've established
50-50,
in that clan.
or, as close as 50-50 as nature.
Do we have any idea who Broadway's mother is? Is that ever addressed?
I don't think so. Not in the series, at least.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm happy. My question was answered, and I feel
good observation.
Thank you.
Because I didn't pick up on it, but as soon as you said it, I was like, oh yeah, has to be. Because like when you look at the 3 brothers, they're so different.
Right.
Yeah.
I love Lexington's
I was
design.
just going to say on the Gargoyles Wikipedia, it says that Broadway's mother is unnamed female gargoyle.
Oh, her. Yeah.
Remember her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had a great arc.
Yeah.
That episode where she came back and went on her adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the Avalon part.
Avalon.
That was her name. Everyone was
always.
Oh,
that was her name? That's why they said it.
Yep. Everyone was always just shouting at her.
Oh my goodness. Okay. My question has been answered.
You only had one question?
Well, I have other questions, but I'll give someone else a turn.
Sarah, do you have any questions?
I do.
Okay. You do, because you seem to know all of
Well,
it.
this is a question that Greg Wiseman has never answered.
Okay.
And always refuses to answer.
Oh, okay.
So at the end of The Gathering, 2-parter episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Titania whispers something into Fox's ear before she leaves.
Yeah, she does.
Ooh.
What does she say?
I don't. Wow. Yeah.
What does she tell her?
That is never
I
addressed,
need to know.
Which is so odd for
That
gargoyles.
is so odd. It's not addressed in any of the comics.
Nope.
Oh boy.
Huh.
She is
Broadway's mother.
Jalapeno.
Jalapeno.
I imagine she is, because at the end of the gathering, that is when they prevent
Yeah, Oberon
from taking
the
Alexander.
baby. Yep.
Um,
Whisper something to her daughter.
I'm imagining it has something to do with Renard, her father.
Her father?
About her
Okay.
father. Interesting.
Okay.
I always suspected it was something of comfort because the expression on Fox's face.
It's
It's
like
hard to read.
surprise, right? I took it as surprise.
Yeah.
Or softening a little bit. She
Soften,
doesn't.
right.
Yeah,
She
softening.
doesn't go on edge. Like it doesn't alert her to anything.
Right.
And it's not like, what?
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, maybe some word of affection or
Something about her power
Yeah.
that
her power.
just
Yeah,
Something about her
manifested.
power. Yeah.
maybe.
How cool is it when Fox's power, her latent power, came out?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. So, again,
response to
so
her
much
son.
better than it had to
Had
be.
Absolutely. And it's like the mother raising a car off of her baby. Like that's what,
Yeah.
Right.
that's what triggers her.
Yeah, exactly.
Alexander's in danger. Zap zap.
I love the resolve of that. Here we are raving again.
Back to Puck.
I love back to Puck of whenever he trains Alex,
He can be Puck.
he can be Puck.
Yeah. But otherwise
Otherwise,
he's always
Yeah.
Owen.
Owen.
Yep.
And I love their little adventure episode.
And that was a
Where they
great
do
way to
Yes.
end that too, because at that point everyone knows Owen is Puck.
Right.
So how do you then justify ever seeing Owen again and believing it?
Right.
And so there you go. A well-written
Yeah.
reason.
Puck needs a vacation, so he's just gonna pop into Owen for a minute.
And what? Yeah, he came back. Oh, and he was doing all the body switching and the souls.
Yes. Yep.
And that's when
Yes.
Broadway and
For the
Angela,
spirit to be
Angela.
willing, the
Yeah.
flesh
Yep.
must first grow weak.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's just a
Well,
walking.
seriously,
gargoyle encyclopedia.
you're the Gargoyle Wiki.
Well,
Like
I
whenever
mean,
we type it in, it's going right to you, right?
I wouldn't go that far, but just like you, like my mom, I'd have her tape episodes for me when I wasn't going to be there to watch them.
Yeah.
And so I just watched these VHS tapes constantly growing up.
Mom taped
I loved
Gargoyles
the
for you,
show.
and Dad drove you to the gathering. Man,
Yeah.
Cool mom and dad.
Yeah, that's a very gargoyle.
I just want to put this
family.
out. Mom did not tape episodes of Gargoyles
She didn't?
for me. No, definitely not. Very cool. That was a great question. I mean, I do want to know.
It's like a great
What's-
mystery.
To Tanya said, yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll never
It's
know
nice to have-
probably.
A mystery
Yeah.
that you can just wonder about.
Keeps
Because
it
we do
fresh.
have enough clues to know that it wasn't ominous.
Right. It's not a warning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It was a promise. I
Yeah.
felt, of
of something.
something great.
And they're not bound by time and space, Oberon and Titania, right? They experience, I guess.
I
I
guess
guess they
as
are-
their beings, Avalon, they say, works at a different time rate. Time there goes much slowly, but it does pass because
Right.
Tom grows up over the
Oh,
years.
yeah.
Tom.
Oh, Tom.
Can't believe we didn't talk about Tom
With that Goliath
Tom and the
armor.
princess.
Yeah.
And the Magus.
and the Magus.
Oh, the Magus had such
Oh,
a great
The
story.
Here we are.
Also
raving
voiced by
again.
Jeff Bennett. by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, what a
Jeff
talented
Bennett is
actor.
a friggin' superstar.
When Tom shows up in the gargoyle
Goliath
armor.
armor, yeah.
Oh man.
Ugh.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that was like one of
Guardian.
those things that I had. Yeah, when he shows back
Guardian.
up in New York as the Guardian, that's one of those things that I always remembered about the show. Out of context, I just had that image of this like knight in gargoyle armor.
Yeah.
So cool.
It'd be a
Does anybody
great
else
cosplay.
do you have a big question?
I have two big questions, so they're not that big.
All right, give us one.
Why? You already gave an answer to this, but I don't accept it. Why did Goliath have a name, but no one else did in the clan?
Because it wasn't their way.
No, I know, but why
Humans-
did Goliath get one?
The humans named him after the biblical Goliath. They had to have
So weird.
something to address him as the leader, I guess.
But
But
and I
it's weird because
thought
they didn't
that.
give Hudson a name.
Exactly, they didn't give Hudson a name.
Well, he was a forgettable leader.
How dare you?
Oh, I'm just like he what well
Yeah, because everyone got frozen to stone for 1,000 years on Hudson's watch.
Hudson. So Hudson, that did not come out well. Hudson is certainly not forgettable. I'll retract that before we get hate mail. But what I mean, Hudson.
I already feel people typing.
Hudson was never power hungry.
I think
he was never. I'm sure. I can. Just some nobody from Jakku is vigorously typing away on his laptop right now. But Hudson did not seek power, or politics, or favor. He was he's a gargoyle's gargoyle.
A real gargoyle's
gargoyle. And clearly, I think the relationship. I wish they'd explored it between the captain of the guard. He and Hudson had so many similarities, so it was clear to me that he and Hudson had grown up together, and he didn't need a name because the humans. It was the next generation of humans. It was the princess Catherine and the Magus who were suspicious of the but all of the older people at Castle Wyvern respected and looked to the gargoyles as family and kin. They didn't need names. Yeah.
That's
the captain of the guard just saw him as another brother.
Observation.
Thank you.
Okay.
So he was Hudson was their leader. Yes. But I don't think Hudson ever thought of himself as their leader.
You know what? It's almost like Hudson and Demona. You talk about Hudson being a gargoyle's gargoyle. I feel like Demona was very much a gargoyle's gargoyle.
Yes.
It's like
a very different.
They totally different methodology. Different instincts on how to accomplish that. But Goliath almost is this outlier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. He gravitates towards humans the way no other gargoyle does.
Yes. Yep.
And I would argue the only
Sexually.
reason yes, that too.
Very much so.
And I would argue the only reason the brothers do is because they've been raised by Goliath and they're naturally curious of the human world.
Of the human world, exactly. But I feel like prior, and very much.
Okay, so your answer is Goliath has kind of had more back and forth interactions with humans more than any other gargoyle beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay. Yep.
I will accept it. I will accept it. Fire up the wiki.
Also, tangent. This has been pointed out to me before. It blows my mind that the series essentially starts with a suicide.
Yeah.
When Goliath asks the Magus to put the spell on him, cast your spell one more time.
Right.
He's not expecting to ever wake up.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yep. Wow.
Yep.
I didn't think of it
He's like
that.
I failed my clan.
Absolutely right.
He's falling on his sword.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And in a way, I wonder if he resents Xanatos a little bit for bringing them back to life.
Maybe.
Wow.
Maybe especially right at the very beginning.
Yeah.
It's deep stuff.
That is deep.
This
show is so much better than it had to be.
Yeah.
Great point.
And at the same time, don't you wish everything was at that standard?
Yes, absolutely.
Everything could be so
yeah.
good.
It proves the point that you can do this and you can become beloved.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it makes you a little mad.
I have
when
kind of
people don't do it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And when they are a great example of this is like Frozen. Frozen isn't a very deep movie. It's just huge and has like big stories and princesses.
The Disney Frozen?
Yeah, Disney Frozen.
Okay.
Yeah, I was not a fan of that movie either.
Well, it's like a hodgepodge of 3 other movies. Here's a big question.
Okay.
When we meet other gargoyles from around the world, they speak the language or have the appropriate accent of the area.
This is the other one I wrote down.
Of our core group, who are from Scotland, the only gargoyle that has a Scottish accent is Hudson.
This is hilarious.
Why do none of the other gargoyles have Scottish
like a married
accents?
couple.
We are. It's
Goodness
that romantic
gracious.
weekend we spent up in the mountains of New Hampshire that time by the fire.
Yes. It wasn't enough for me to be a rant, but I was like, why does no one else have accents? You're in the area of the world with the strongest accent while you still speak English. And like there's not even a little tinge except for Hudson. Yeah. And then you go to Japan and they have Japanese accents. You go to South America.
You know, they
even the English ones.
Oh
yeah. Griff.
Griff
Una and Leo.
Yes, they all have appropriate
accents.
Mm-hmm. Why don't?
That's a great big
Well,
question.
you see, guys, as we understand the Scottish accent in 994 AD, it was very similar actually to American English.
So really, Hudson was weird.
Yeah.
He was the outlier.
Hudson started the accent.
It's just the way he spoke.
He technically did have a name, but no one used it because they couldn't say it. And then they were like, you know what? Gargoyles just don't have names.
The Magus also doesn't have an accent.
That is interesting. I don't know why they made that
sounds
choice.
very American.
Ed Asner just sounded so great and wise.
He really did.
With his Scottish accent.
He really did.
You know, for all we know, they wanted Scottish accents, and then they were like,
not everybody could do them.
Yeah.
They're hard.
Can you imagine?
Princess Catherine had a Scottish accent.
She did.
So did Tom.
And
so it
Tom.
Not the
existed.
Magus, though.
Right. Not the Magus.
Macbeth.
Macbeth had one.
Oh,
But not Gilcomgain.
No.
And not...
no other
all
Gargoyles.
the modern hunters had Scottish accents.
Yes, they
The
did.
modern hunters, yep, they did. Their dad.
Yeah.
Who fell to his death from
Off
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Oh, man.
You saw the chalk outline.
I did, yeah. It's still there.
It's still there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's funny. That was my
dark.
exact question.
We're kind of dark.
But that was a dark scene.
That was
too.
very dark.
Yeah.
Because it's in front of his children.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not that Demona knew that. And we don't know exactly what happened up there either. But the
Pretty
fact
sure
that the
she
kids
threw him off the side of Notre Dame.
Yeah, but I mean, these hunters all the time. They're like just
They're falling off
you
of
know.
things. And
But
his
yeah,
Da Vinci glider was so decrepit it didn't open.
it didn't.
That's what really happened.
Oh, he still was holding on to it.
It was just past its prime at that point.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, because hunters don't fly, they can only glide.
On currents of wind.
Which I love that they really stuck to that.
they did. Yep. That would have been easy to walk away from.
Sometimes it was a little easy to start gliding. But
Those updrafts.
they were
downtown-
always
it was the
always
steam
a
rising from the
limitation.
streets of New York.
Yeah.
It was like a
Careful,
hot air balloon.
updraft.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Any other big questions, guys?
That's all of mine.
I never even considered the language stuff. I assume that Avalon magic kind of explains everything that we don't know.
Sure. I mean, that's plausible.
Because Angela doesn't have an accent either, and she's raised specifically
By Scots.
Yeah. Like only two, Scott and the Magnus. I guess she took after him.
I guess, okay. I always wondered why Broadway and Angela were gravitated toward each other romantically.
Oh, I can answer this.
Okay.
I can answer this.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because he appreciated her for who she was and not just the fact that she was the only other female gargoyle. Because, like, the minute Brooklyn saw her, like, they all did the episode where they competed. And Brooklyn at one point says, I don't know if Angela, but he's like, I'm second in command. Like, that's his justification for why she should be with him. But then there's like an episode later where Broadway and Angela are reading poetry to each other, and he's like reading her poetry. Like, he actually appreciated her for who she was as a person.
Something definitely stirred in them when they had the souls
Of
of
the other-
Cold Stone
yeah.
and Cold Fire.
Right.
Because
Right.
they were romantic.
Right.
And
Totally.
and they said they could remember everything.
Everything. Right.
And that's definitely where we started seeing them be romantically involved.
Right.
And
I
they took
guess-
it from there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that makes a lot of sense.
I forgot that.
I guess
Good memory.
part of my, as much as I love relationships in shows, I felt maybe just a little, okay, here's a new female character. One of us must mate with her immediately.
Pair her
Right.
We must pair
yes.
her off.
Right.
And I think that didn't sit super well with me, even, at age 11,
Yeah.
whatever. And then I just always, I guess I got the vibe that she and Gabriel, her rookery brother on Avalon, that they were going to have a thing.
Yeah.
But they're more siblings in their relationship than.
But in gargoyle culture, who knows who is
Right.
sibling?
How do you know
You're all
who's-
brothers
You're all
and
brothers and
sisters.
sisters.
Oh, so Gabriel, if you remember, what he looked like.
Yes.
He's actually the biological son of
Coldstone.
Coldstone and Coldfire.
Ah, yeah. I get that. He had like the same kind of horns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crown of his head.
Yeah.
They thought about this
They
way
real-
more than they had to.
Yes.
And here we are 24 years later appreciating it. And this is what they've been waiting for. This episode of Geek Out.
This was why they
Totally.
used the Phoenix Gate to go into the future, knowing that this would happen.
Absolutely.
Any more big questions?
I'm out of big questions.
Oh, not so much a question, but maybe this is more of a got another rave. The
Sure.
Weird Sisters were
Yeah.
so cool.
Oh, they were
and I want to
so
know more
cool.
about them.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know all about them.
Their origins in Scottish lore.
And the show really allowed them to sit in this mysterious place for a long time before we
Yeah.
learned anything about them. And that was so cool. Because
Yeah.
we were so used, I think, as kids to really like, here's a threat and here's why. And, and here's a
Right.
motivation. And they were just allowed to be mysterious,
And wacky.
wacky,
And terrifying.
And
It appears in different iterations, like 3 little girls,
Yep.
3 gargoyle
Yes.
women.
Yep.
Like you never
3
quite
old ladies.
3 old ladies.
They were always
Mother Maiden Crone.
Yeah.
Such cool
They were really cool.
stuff.
Just the character development in the show in general.
Strong agree.
Back to raves again.
Back to raves
Always
again.
back to raves.
Always.
Sign of a good show.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, hey, we're geeking out about it.
Mhm.
It must be. I have one last big question.
All right.
If nobody else has one.
Wrap it up for us.
Is David Xanatos a villain? Is he actually a villain?
I will say
He's certainly Machiavellian, and his quest for immortality causes horrific events that he attempts at times to make amends for.
Mhm.
But is he actually a villain in the show?
I will say no.
Okay.
I will say he's an adversary for
Okay.
most of the show. There's one episode, the episode where they go to Arizona, and it's they're talking about the Native American coyote spirit,
Yes.
where he's about to melt everyone with acid.
Yes.
And he says something like, "What do you think? It's my first, my first trip into real villainy."
Yeah.
And I agreed at that moment. I was
Right.
like, "Yes, this is a villain moment more than anything else you've done."
Right.
So I would just say he's at odds with the Gargoyles through most of these seasons, but he's not a true villain. That's
Okay.
my answer.
To play devil's advocate,
Sure.
I will say he is a villain
Okay.
because he, at the beginning of the series, and for most of it, operates from a very selfish, self-serving point of view. He will overstep legality, he'll overstep morality, anything that serves his primary directive, he'll serve. And he's supposed to be a billionaire, a
Yeah.
philanthropist. Think of all the good he could have done with his money if it were focused on others and not his sole pursuit of living forever. So I think in that
True.
regard, he is villainous.
Okay.
But he is a very interesting, multifaceted, genius villain.
Yeah, he's not your generic mustache twirling, tight of the train
Yeah.
tracks villain.
No. He's the Red Dragon. He creates himself.
Yeah, he does.
Self-made man.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
Self-made. Yeah.
I love
he
that
truly
episode.
is a self-made man.
Yeah, I forgot
He
about
goes
that.
back in time to Scotland.
Yeah. That was a great episode.
And he's basically just like, yeah, I'm back in time in Scotland.
Yep.
Like, there's no adjustment period.
Yeah.
He didn't need an adjustment period because he remembered this. He had the letter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
Knowing
didn't
that
remember it
he's-
because he hadn't done
right.
it yet, but
But
he
he
had the
knew-
letter that everything was going to turn out well.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sure.
This leads me to a question.
Okay.
Time loops.
Yes.
How does time work in the Gargoyles universe?
Great
Because
question.
there's so many things that only happened because they happened.
Yes.
And their whole kind of rules of time, like certain things are not changeable. It happened, but so it happened.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gives me a headache if I think too deeply about it.
Yeah, this is always why I get a little disappointed when active time travel gets into these shows. because it opens up too many of these questions. Like, Goliath had the Phoenix Gate. Why not save his whole clan?
Right.
Right.
You know?
I can answer
Because
that.
he
Okay.
didn't.
Because then he never
So
meets
he can't.
Elisa.
Yeah. That's an awfully selfish reason, though.
It is.
It's a lot of dead gargoyles.
It is a lot of dead gargoyles. But yes.
Well, we've already established Goliath loves humans more
Yeah.
than
But
gargoyles.
you're right.
so-
He didn't save them, so he can't. By the rules
Right.
established by that.
Yeah.
Because but then they go back in time
Mhm.
to World War II
Yeah, they
England
do.
during the Battle of the Blitz.
Mhm.
And he could go back and he didn't remember
Oh, yeah.
saving Griff.
Griff, right. Until he actually saved Griff the first time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He wasn't, but he was already that.
It's timey-wimey
it's
stuff, man.
Timey-wimey. It is timey-wimey.
Yeah.
Because he
It gets
didn't
hard.
remember going back in time
Right.
and letting Griff die because he didn't want to change history, but he only saved Griff because he saw what happened if he didn't save him.
Timey-wimey.
Una
This
and
is
Leo
why
remembered him going
I
back
drink.
to the future in a flash of light.
Let's be thankful that when gargoyles are smashed in their stone form,
Oh,
that's the end of it, and they don't revert to gargoyle pieces when the sun comes up.
oh man.
Yeah.
I thought
I
of that
thought about
multiple
that.
times.
I didn't want to bring it up.
That would be so messed up.
Like Goliath gets back to the
Yeah.
castle and it's nighttime and now
Yep.
they're not stone pieces. Oh man,
Yeah,
that
I
would
almost thought they were going that way. Because Demona kills people that way too in City of Stone.
Yes.
She
Yeah.
just goes around murdering people.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Smashy,
how did we not
smashy.
bring that up?
Oh, I just did. I knew it had to be. Kid show. Make sure you get home from
Disney
school.
afternoon.
Put it on.
Deliciously dark.
Today after Tailspin.
Only one season of Tailspin. It's
really.
another show that
Step
I
right
remember
up and
fondly
come
going
on
on
in.
forever. Oh my goodness, you remember the theme
It's
song
where
to
the fun
Tailspin?
begins.
Oh, that was a
Oh,
Oh,
great.
yeah. Don't get me
theme.
started.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Ah,
There's so much to do. Get ready just for you.
Zehra, I did not share this with you because we don't always do it, but Sketch has a pitch.
A pitch, please.
Yes,
I
for
do.
a little segment that we sometimes do.
But now I'm scared because I know Zehra doesn't want one. Doesn't want to reboot.
We have to share it with
Okay,
us.
this is my idea for how you could bring gargoyles back to
Okay.
a younger audience, or not even necessarily younger.
New
Us.
gener-
You can bring it back to us. And I say, basically like a Netflix relaunch in the vein of Voltron. How like
Ooh.
Ugh.
we kind of.
Ugh.
I hope those are good.
Those were
us.
pleasure.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
Pleasure
good.
sounds.
In the sense that we take this older property and we really just take like the motifs and a general feeling of the show, and we just craft basically just this incredibly crafted original show based on this motif, right?
Sure.
And I say in this gargoyle story, instead of setting it in modern day, because I think it's too problematic, set it during the 1850s.
Oh.
Right, because that's kind of like the rebirth, not the
Right in
rebirth,
the
the
middle of the
birth
Civil
of Civil War, and also this rise in spiritualism in Europe and
Yeah.
in America, where like the lines between science and spiritual and supernatural are naturally blurred
Sure.
in our actual history anyway. And you could do the show still in New York, but you could do it easily in London or Edinburgh. You could give it like a slight, just a delicate, slight steampunky aspect, just to kind of bring in this tech and science mixing with magic.
Man, I
and
want to see those Steel Clan
superstition,
robots.
right? You could, yeah, absolutely. Like
yeah.
steampunky Steel Clan. You could still have Xanatos because that's like a perfect like name for like a steampunky inventor.
Absolutely.
Philanthropist in one of these cities.
Uh,
Maza can still be, she could be like the typical Victorian woman, but she's like dabbling in detective work, and she's like out there at night perfecting that craft.
I'm with you.
I think gargoyles, this idea of gargoyles from the show just fits perfectly into that
setting the
motif.
modern day
Yeah.
in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
Very cool. I'd watch
Some
that.
Jack the Ripper-esque.
Yeah, exactly.
Crime
Yeah,
intrigue.
that kind of stuff.
Oh, interesting. Around this same time in England, this is after Jack the Ripper. They have a different like terrorizer of the streets, like a monster called Spring Heel Jack.
Yeah.
That actually
yeah.
kind of looks like a gargoyle.
And like you have a population that's like just primed and ready to like
Believe
just
this.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. and to have these
Yeah.
quote unquote monsters, at night, it fits really well. And if it's in America, you have the bubblings of the Civil War coming up,
Sure.
which could play into parts.
Oh,
I mean, I think there's potential there.
that's a
I'd watch it.
fascinating show. 100%, 10 out of 10 would watch.
Thank you.
Whoa, all right.
Thank you very much. That's my pitch.
Netflix. We
Get on it.
All right, that brings us to our final segment of the show. Shades and Sketch Recommendations. Zehra, you want to start us?
Oh, thank you. We never
we
get
wrote-
live complimented.
We wrote
on
it
that.
ourselves.
We did. Lots and lots of drafts.
Yeah.
Before we landed on that one.
Zehra, do you have a recommendation for our longtime listeners or anything that you'd like to plug or both?
Ooh, a recommendation as in what I think you should watch or check out.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Does it have to be animated?
It
No.
can literally be
Anything you want.
We've recommended buying cars.
The entirety of the
Of the
DCEU.
Going to therapy?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, this is anything. No boundaries.
I just started listening to a really fascinating podcast. 2 episodes are out. It's called The Dream. This season, it's examining multi-level management companies,
Huh.
MLMs, pyramid schemes, and kind of how these companies, while technically legal, kind of are inspired by these pyramid scheme methodology, and they prey on vulnerable communities. It's really fascinating stuff. And this podcast seems to really delve deeply into the psychology of it, the origins of it. So I'm listening to that now and really digging it.
Very cool. The
I
Dream,
also-
you said? It's called The Dream?
The Dream.
All right.
The
Cool.
Dream.
I will check that
Yeah.
out.
I'm also really digging. I've been a longtime listener of the Generation Y podcast, spelled WHY.
Oh.
They're 2 guys will discuss a case. Often it's an unsolved case. It's a true crime podcast. I really enjoy true crime, and that's a really good, simple, straightforward podcast about various cases in true crime.
Very cool.
So those are my recommendations.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
As far as stuff to plug, as you mentioned, I play Rizavi on Voltron Legendary Defender, and season 7 is out streaming now on Netflix. Season 8 is coming out later this year.
Woohoo!
Definitely
All right.
give that a listen, a watch. So good. And Young Justice Outsiders is coming to the DC Universe streaming service early 2019. If you liked Gargoyles, you'll love Young Justice. Common thread being Greg Wiseman is one of the masterminds behind
okay.
it. And again, he just does world building
World
so
building.
well.
Yeah, I see that connection now that you say that.
Yeah.
There is a
And
similar
so if
world
you
building.
haven't seen Young Justice seasons 1 and 2, absolutely watch them. They're streaming now on the DC Universe streaming service. And then you'll be ready for season 3 when it comes out.
Cannot wait.
Yeah.
Another streaming
For
service.
both of those, Voltron and... Because you recently recommended Voltron, and I was
did.
really behind. And so I was like, all right, I got to get back into it. And then I just devoured all of it.
Was season 4 where you really got
yeah.
into it? With the magic, they
Probably.
introduced
See, I
like
watched it-
really heavy-handed
I watched
magic.
it like all at once. Yeah, it
It's a
might have
slow
been there.
burn. It's such a slow burn.
Yeah, but then it just takes off.
Very rarely does a show get better the longer it goes on,
Yeah.
like specifically
Yeah.
animated. And this is a great example of
Without spoiling anything, it's just at an amazing place right now.
strong agree. And it's really interesting the way they're. Zehra, I don't know if you watched the original Voltron back in the day.
I didn't.
Yeah, I got bits and pieces of it, but a lot of the things they're doing now in season 6 and 7, I can't wait to watch season 8, is kind of touching on the way original Voltron unfolded, because the original show was discarded animes from Japan, and they cut like 5 different shows together into a new
What?
show, and then brought it to America and wrote an original story over the
the animation from like these 5 different shows.
Wow.
Power Rangers has done
very,
the same,
very similar to Power
done the
Rangers.
same way. Power Rangers like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
mashup of
Live-action
5
version
different
of that.
shows.
Yeah.
And in one of the iterations, the Resistance all have like their little ships and stuff.
Mhm.
Like Matt's brother is a member of them.
Mhm.
They all combine at one point into like there were like 9 different things that combined into Voltron.
Pidge's brother Matt.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
I said that
That's
incorrectly. Pidge's brother Matt. Yeah.
Mm.
So like his group.
Yeah.
Eventually, and we're expanding our vehicular mechs at this point. Not to give too much away.
Oh yeah, don't give.
In Voltron, which I really like that they're bringing in that legacy of later seasons of Voltron.
Very cool.
Original
Yeah.
Voltron, I should say. That's been very cool. Sketch, do you want to give your rec?
Okay, I mean, keep in mind I just said no boundaries,
Right.
right? You can recommend anything you'd like.
Okay.
Oh
Give
boy.
any kind of homework.
You gonna rec an animation?
No, I'm going to recommend the country of Scotland. I
It's a
was
difficult
lucky
one.
enough to visit Scotland in 2009, and it was a lovely trip. And specifically, my recommendation boils down to visiting a specific castle
Okay.
in Scotland called, I wrote it down, but I don't, Dunatar
Okay.
Castle. Dunatar Castle. And
Just offended all of our Scottish listeners.
yep, I did.
Yeah.
But I warned
You
early
did,
on.
Yeah.
If you look on the Gargoyles Wikipedia page, the Castle Wyvern is based on Tintagel Castle. However,
have you been there?
pronounce that. Never been there because that's in England. I haven't been to England.
Oh.
But other people have argued that it's based on this castle in Scotland, Dunatar.
Okay.
They look very similar, and I think the best evidence, other than the fact that they look very similar, is that Dunatar is actually in Scotland,
Right.
and the other one's in England.
And it has gargoyles on it.
It has tons of gargoyles. No, they've been removed. They were removed years ago by a wealthy philanthropist. He took them away in his
Downer.
helicopter. But the point is, it's a beautiful location.
See what you did there.
Thank you. And it's a seaside, right on the cliff over the North Sea. Beautiful place if you can ever go. So I recommend visiting Dunatar Castle. And guys, it's €5 to get in. It's cheap. It's cheap. It's a cheap recommendation from Sketch.
And like $3,000.
That's
to get there.
That's not
Besides
a
the
recommendation. That's not, I'm just recommending the castle. €5.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
It's very cool. You
Hotel
go up this
accommodations.
winding path. It's on this little jutting out piece of land that's only connected to the mainland with this like really
So
narrow
it is
strip.
Castle Wyvern.
Yes,
I'm
that's what I'm
looking at
saying.
a
Like it
Google
really
image search
really
of it.
look
It's stunning.
Yes, right. Maybe I'll
Wow.
I'll link a picture on.
Please do,
on Facebook.
yeah.
Maybe I'll link a picture to both and let our
Listeners
long-term
decide
listeners
which is
decide
which.
they think.
I think that's fair.
So,
For the Gargoyles 50-year
Mhm.
anniversary podcast that we'll all record,
Yeah.
we should record in this castle.
we should do it
We
there.
should, yeah.
Yeah.
Strong agree.
Absolutely.
Strong agree.
It's only €5.
Yeah.
It's a cheap trip.
Amazing.
Cheap trip.
I'll follow that up with the entire country of France because it's
Ooh.
beautiful and yeah, it was wonderful. Get on that, long-time listeners.
If you guys are good about it, you could knock these both out in a week.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Spare no expense.
Take a ferry.
And now
have a
you have
gargoyle
podcasts
glide
to listen
you.
to on
You
the
do.
trip over.
Now, silliness aside, I will recommend. This could be difficult if you aren't on this platform, but I will recommend the new Spider-Man PS4 game. I am a big Spider-Man fan. I've always appreciated and enjoyed Spider-Man, and I've always been let down in big ways in all of the movie adaptations that they've done. And that's not to say that they're not fantastic movies in their own way, but I'm always left wanting for something in Peter Parker's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
His wit, his wittiness, and just how much he loves being Spider-Man, no matter how difficult it makes his life. And this game captures that perfectly. And they did something really smart. I'm not giving anything away. They set it 5 years into Peter being Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
So I said that incorrectly. So he's been
Spider-Man for 5 years.
He's been Spider-Man for 8 years.
Oh.
But they're 5 years past like all of the origin stories that they've done.
Okay.
So all of the origin stories that we've gotten from Spider-Man take place in his first 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 8 years after all of the origin stories and movies that we've seen.
Oh, okay.
And it tells a new story.
Brand new story.
brand new story. It took some getting used to the spider suit, like the white spider motif. I played the game wearing the Stark suit, which looks fantastic. I went back and forth between that and the...
You're talking about your Stark suit that you have, that you put on to play the game.
Exactly.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
And also the Spider-Man, the Tony Stark built Spider-Man suit from Spider-Man Homecoming.
Okay.
I think that looked the best, but I really also enjoyed playing as Scarlet Spider. I love that outfit. There are unlockable suits, so if you don't like the white spider motif that they give you in the game, you can wear the classic suit. You can wear Spider-Man 2999. You can wear the Scarlet Spider. You can wear his home-built suit from the beginning of Civil War that Tony Stark makes fun of. And you can also wear, like, another one I really enjoyed wearing was the Noir suit from Spider-Man Noir when they did the whole...
Sounds like
Noir
Sims
series.
meets Spider-Man.
It really is. It's you can customize it in many different ways. You can give the suit attributes. It's just so well done. It's some elements of the development could have been a little better, but it's a great successor to the Arkham series.
I've heard that from multiple people.
It's if you really liked the Arkham Batman
Which I
games,
did.
I would highly recommend Spider-Man PS4. It's a great story. Very well
I have
done.
a lot of voice actor friends who are involved in the game. So I'm so excited. People love it so much.
Yeah, high
and
praise to all
it's
of
doing
the
so well.
actors that worked on it. They really brought their A game.
I've heard great things, and I'm planning to play it hopefully soon.
Cool.
I do have access. I got to start it up.
All right.
That's high praise coming from you, a self-proclaimed DC
Oh yeah,
fanboy.
I'm a DC fanboy through and through. I
Yeah.
loved playing this game.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the next installment to come out. Spoilers, there will be another game.
Great.
But I won't give anything else away. Out of respect. The only time I won't spoil something is if Sketch
Hasn't experienced
hasn't
it yet.
experienced it yet.
Thank you.
The rest
very
of-
much.
The rest of you, sorry. Thanks for listening, everybody. And Zehra, thank you so much for
Yeah,
joining us
thanks
and
for
being
joining us.
our...
Oh, thank
Gargoyle
you so
expert.
much for
You didn't
having
have much
me.
of a choice, I guess. The Phoenix
Yeah,
Gate
summoning you.
kinda
Yeah,
sucked you
I
over
mean,
here.
bloom where you're planted. I don't know.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And we usually, we like to take souvenirs for the GoCo when we leave. Shades, do you have anything that you would like to bring with you?
I am hands down taking Mr. Xanatos's mech suit.
His gargoyle.
His
themed
gargoyle
mech
themed
suit.
mech suit.
Not Coyote.
No.
Okay.
That was
Okay,
problematic. I'm
we
taking
didn't
this
even
mech
get
suit.
into that.
We didn't even get into Coyote.
No.
Guys, it's too much.
It's
We
too
could do a
much.
whole podcast on gargoyles.
We could do a whole episode just on Xanatos's life model decoys.
Yeah, we could, actually.
Sketch, what are you going to grab?
Well, Shades, I'm happy to announce that I've carved out a little piece of the GoCo, and I am officially opening Sketch's Menagerie. It's a foster home for abandoned geek critters, and our first adoptee will be Bronx from Gargoyles. Going to give him a good home until he gets a fresh start and a relaunch series or rebooted series. Going to take good care of him, good home, and I'll get him more friends throughout the Geekverse too.
Bronx, this is not your room.
Bronx can stay wherever he wants. Also, it's daylight, so you're talking to a statue.
Well played.
Thank you.
Zehra, do you have anything that you'd like to take back with you through the Phoenix Gate?
I do. I'm going to grab a shard of gargoyle skin and use it to cut off Xanatos's ponytail. And that's what I'm going to take back with me.
Just be careful of that skin. It can
Yeah,
turn
so-
your body parts stone if you're
Not careful.
Uh-oh.
So just
And I don't want to know what you're going to do with that ponytail.
It's a Saturday night.
Okay.
Anything
right.
could happen.
Guys, thanks for listening. And once again, very special thank you to Zehra Fazal for being our guest gargoyle expert on this week's episode.
Really taught us something.
Really taught us quite a bit about
I
the
thought
world
I
of
knew a
gargoyles.
lot about gargoyles. and
Turns out.
Now I know a lot more.
So if you are a fan of the show, we would really appreciate it if you could leave us a rating and review on your platform of choice. It really does make a difference in boosting the profile of the show, whether it's iTunes, Google Play, CastBox, Player FM. We're all over the place, and we would appreciate you leaving us a rating and review. Or
Yeah, you could reach out to us on Facebook. Just search Geeking Out with Shades and Sketch. See all of our episodes posted there and some goodies as well.
you can email us at gowithshadesandsketch@gmail.com.
And you can follow us on Twitter at
Shades and Sketch.
That is correct.
All right.
Guys, thanks so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
See you next time, guys.